looking up to our ASEAN neighbors such as Thailand, Philippines, and Indonesia, so that we can formulate a more strategic, creative economy development plan. Because right now, we do not have a dedicated agency or institution that is responsible for this. What we have is a separate ministry that sort of have our own policy and our own program to foster creativity. So for example, the Ministry of Culture and Fine Art, we have our own fostering program. The Ministry of Women Affairs, they focus more on the female entrepreneurs in the micro and small enterprise, for example. But right now we are in a phase of data collection and also analyzing. So we are finishing off our cultural mapping. Of course, it's not, you can never finish our cultural mapping, but we are updating. The cultural mapping of our communities, and from that we are going to make a proposal to the leaders, our new government, which is just formed a few weeks ago. So Cambodia has a new government, new prime minister, and he's very excited and very much in pushing for diversification of our economy. Yeah.
So a lot of hopes for the new government to put more attention on the creative economy in Cambodia as well. Now, any rooms for collaboration with ASEAN or Indo-Pacific countries? What key areas would you say is ready for collaboration in Cambodia?
Cambodia is always very open to collaboration in any sector. Especially within this new mandate, we are very much open for any proposal from private or state within the creative economy. I will give specific example for us in the Ministry of Culture and Fine Art, whether it's film, whether it's content building, capacity building. We have ambitious plan on developing our creative school. So we have secondary school and University of Fine Art under our ministry responsibility. But we have not focused on the digital side, not much, but we are creating this plan and we are looking for partners. We also wanting to grow our film industry.
So it starts from cooperation in capacity building. That is also seek for
cooperation.
Investments?
Investment, yes. In any sector. I know that because we have the ASEAN Summit, Leader Summit on just this morning. And I'm sure our new Prime Minister, he mentioned that Cambodia was very much open to investment and we'll try our absolute best to make environment viable for investment. Yes.
Now, I just want to touch a little upon technology. So how have the creative industry in Cambodia utilized the technology? Just to answer a few questions here. Is it really open for like social media and how open are you, and also how has it been utilized?
So yes, because of our young population, we are very much open to social media. So right now we have all the Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, whatever they can get.
Do you have a TikTok?
I don't.
You don't have, okay. I'm just checking.
Maybe I'm not young enough. I pretend, I try to look young, but I am not young enough. Actually, I do have access to TikTok.
Okay.
But yes, I do.
Same with me then. Only have access. I don't know what to fill in.
But it's incredibly.
It's growing there.
It's the fastest growing app because of our young population.
Okay, and they're very eager to create through those platforms?
Oh yes, there's all sorts of content. There's all sorts of content up there in TikTok, and especially for younger people. And we have content from Cambodians from around the world as well. So it's really all this social media, it makes the world smaller.
Yeah.
But it's also an incredibly effective way of giving off high volume communication. You know, when you
Has it been utilized to promote what Cambodia can offer in the creative aspect or creative economy aspect?
The tourism industry has been, after COVID, what happened during the pandemic, how our tourism industry, which is one of the main economic contributor in Cambodia, our tourism industry, how much it declined during COVID. And I think the Ministry of Tourism has utilized social media as a way to promote tourism in the country, which is very effective, especially they managed to drive up the not just international but national tourism as well within the country, make people want to go out.
Okay.
And
So my final question will be touching upon inclusivity. As we know that the creative sector, it will grow. We have the tools, the technology, as you said, it's also been utilized. But what is Cambodia doing to keep it inclusive for everyone? How do you keep it more and more sustainable, especially in Cambodia as the industry grows?
How do we make it more inclusive for everyone? So we, like I've mentioned, because we have many ministries involved. So for example, for us, a lot of focus is on not just on the youth, but on the local community as well. So we have a program called the Living Legend in the traditional community. So we go and explore different local community, and then we've actually given a special decoration for any elders in the community or people in the community who are specialized in their art, for example, and that is Ministry of Culture. So Ministry of Women Affairs, they focus on fostering women enterprises. So, and the Ministry of Education focus a lot on the youth sector. So, and we are very much, we have a special program that involve artists with disability, for example. So we have that, and also we have a special policy on what we call the indigenous support system. So to all the ethnic minority or indigenous within the country as well.
So there's also capacity building for them, getting them involved as well.
Yes, getting in touch with their tradition. Make sure that the tradition don't die out. For example, for the indigenous minority. Yes, and I have one exciting new program that I would like to share with you, just quickly share with you, and that is to do with what we call the ancestral skill training program, which is part of the youth training program. The new government has put, within the new mandate, we have a capacity building program for 1.5 million youth.
Okay.
Yes, very
from the new government.
From the new government. So within this program is currently will be rolling out shortly.
Okay.
And for the creative sector, for the cultural and creative sector, we get 2 to 4% of this 1.5 million, making it 30,000 to 60,000 youth.
Okay.
Yes. So we'll be training a specific traditional skill that can be used to earn a living.
I see.
Yes,
okay.
So it's not just traditional skill for you to be aware of. No, it's a skill that you can use to earn a living.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that hopefully will also grow, let the industry grow, as well as capacity building and collaboration. I think that's areas for collaboration as well.
Yes.
Now, our time is up, but I thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause to Madam Pen Moni Makara, the Secretary of State, Ministry of Cultural and Fine Arts of Cambodia. So once again, thank you very much.
Thank you too.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, and also to our moderator for that very lively fireside chat. Once again, why don't we give another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you very much. And so, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue our exploration of the ASEAN Indo-Pacific Forum 2023, please allow me to welcome to the stage the Regional Director of Korea Creative Content Agency, KOCA. For his brief presentation, please welcome Mr. Kim Yong-soo.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, good afternoon. Selamat siang semuanya. My name is Kim Yong-soo, Regional Director of Korea Creative Content Agency, Indonesia. I'm honored to have this opportunity to address such a distinguished audience. Today, I'm here to share to you how KOCA builds an inclusive creative economy ecosystem through Korea 360. Established in May 2009, KOCA is a governmental organization to promote cultural content and creative industry under the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism of the Republic of Korea. KOCA supports production, planning, creation, distribution, overseas expansion, business growth, training, R&D, policy financing, and policy study of many different genres, including broadcasting, video game, music, fashion, animation, character licensing, comics IP, and new technology convergence content. Among our major support activities are as follow. As you know, Squid Game through Studio Cube for infrastructure support, Extraordinary Attorney Woo for human resource development, Baby Shark, Pink Phone, and Descendant of the Sun for IP overseas expansion. Through the support and business promotion program from KOCA, Korea's content market sales reached 144.4 trillion Korean won, exposure of 13.5 billion US dollar, and employment of 607,000 people, which becomes the 7th largest market in the world. The Korean government recognized that the core of the creative economy is the overseas expansion of related industry. In particular, the content industry, which is regarded as a high value adding industry, is being fostered as a base industry for the creative economy. And the global expansion of related industries through the Korean wave is of our vital importance. The Korean wave, or Hallyu, began in 1997. At the time, only Chinese and Japanese consumer. At the time, only Chinese and Japanese consumer preferred the Korean drama, K-pop, and games. But now, Korean wave also gains popularity in ASEAN countries. This is also evident in statistical figures. Compared to 2019, exports increased by 25.6% in 2020 during COVID period, and are expected to increase by double digit in 2021. In Indonesia, Hallyu is becoming a daily culture. Based on K-content's consumption by country, Indonesia has the highest intention to purchase Korean products and services such as K-pop and dramas, followed by Vietnam, India, UAE, and China. Therefore, in December 2022, KOCA established the Korea 360, a comprehensive exhibition center for Hallyu, which is located inside the Lotte Mall, Jakarta, jointly with 4 ministries, including the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism. Korea 360, as a base for spreading Hallyu in ASEAN, is located to strengthen the Korean brand, provide opportunities to experience new Hallyu culture, secure a Hallyu fandom targeting the new generation, and revitalize the creative economy by leaping into a country with attractive Hallyu culture. In Korea 360, you may find a handprint of Korean Celebrate, Collectown, a permanent exhibition where you can experience Korean content, lifestyle, food, culture and tourism, and various other Korean content-related events. The number of our visitors are increasing steadily as we have carried out 60 promotional events collaborating with 1,932 Korean brands and 4,292 products. Revitalizing the national economy through creative industry is a common goal and concern of Korea and all ASEAN member countries. However, a common approach to these goals and concerns may not fit, since there are some differences of economic, political, and cultural background of each country. Today, I share the methodology for revitalizing the creative economy based on content consumption and added value through our Korea 360. We believe that experience the content will lead to actual product consumption as source of a sustainable creative economy. So, enhancing IP development, elevating creative economy ecosystem. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kim Yo-soo, as our esteemed speaker for your session today. And so, ladies and gentlemen, before we move on, we will continue with another panel discussion. Again, we are here gathered at Ballroom 3. We're going to discuss more about creative economy. And knowing that we're joining the ASEAN Indo-Pacific Forum, implementation of the ASEAN Outlook on the Indo-Pacific, which is a flagship event organized by Indonesia as part of its ASEAN chairmanship in 2023. Again, in this forum, we do hope to unlock further opportunities and we can build stronger connections between the ASEAN countries and also the Indo-Pacific. And we also hope that this will serve as an inclusive platform for ASEAN member states and partners, mainly from the public and private sectors, to engage in constructive discussions, and we can together identify potential tangible projects and promote collaboration in the Indo-Pacific. One of the 3 major issues of future that will be discussed today, ladies and gentlemen, is digital transformation and creative economy. Now, this sub-theme aims to address concrete ways to leverage technology and also innovation in order to drive economic growth and also diversification. How we can together promote creativity, how we can empower businesses in this digital era through digital transformation and also creative economy. And we're very happy to have 88 speakers and gathered 2,500 participants from 51 countries. And so, ladies and gentlemen, for this next panel discussion, we are going to shift our focus to recovery momentum, advancing creative industry and tourism as experience economy. And we do also hope that being talked in this session today about how to build an inclusive creative economy ecosystem, our key speakers will be able to share their experiences, their thoughts, their insights to all of us. So with that, for this session, let's transition and continue to explore these ideas together. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming once again to our stage, Mr. Timothy Marbut as our moderator, And our esteemed speakers today, Mr. Donny Oscaria, CEO of InJourney, Mr. Yang Lee, Head of Public Affairs Asia Pacific of Booking.com, and we're also delighted to have Ms. Montini Yongvikul, Director of Creative City Development of Thailand Creative Economy. So, Mr. Timothy Marbun, you have the floor.
Good day, everyone. I believe I just said that 20 minutes ago as well. So thank you for staying with us in Ballroom 3. A very exciting topic we have here today. Once again, welcome to all the speakers. Welcome to Indonesia, if anyone has only been for the first time here. We are talking about recovering momentum, advancing the creative industry and tourism as an experience economy. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to lie to you. As you sit here in the beautiful Hotel Mulia in Jakarta, your host, which in this situation is Indonesia, secretly hopes that you've seen enough, experienced enough for you to come back, probably bring your family, and have a vacation. Hopefully you enjoy enough Jakarta or even Indonesia. And this is what happens every time we have events like this in ASEAN countries. Any ASEAN countries, say Laos, Thailand, or any ASEAN countries, we try to use this momentum to showcase the best that we have in arts, culture, people, services, and also even nature when we can. Now, our region, the ASEAN region and the Indo-Pacific as well, is a very rich heritage culture. It's so rich culture, so diverse. But at the same time, we see in ASEAN countries, if you look closer, we have lingering similarities, in our folklores, in our heritage, and in the shapes of our temples as well. So it shows that from a very long time ago, we've been working together. We have a Thai as well here in the region. And creative economy has been the very foremost and been very successful in showcasing the very rich socio-cultural heritage that ASEAN has. With the help of technology, it has never been easier for us to showcase this. It has never been easier for us as well to book your flight to the next Southeast Asian destination that you've probably had bookmarked in your Instagram for the last year, or maybe even more than that. I know I have a lot of bookmarked areas that I haven't been going since COVID. So Southeast Asia is one. Now we'll be talking about the creative economy and also its support in tourism. But there's also an aspect where, as we see a growth here, there are also challenges that also come up. Maintaining fair prices is one as well, and also ensuring inclusivity and sustainability. As the numbers grow, sustainability is getting harder and harder to reach as well. We should not leave this in the back burner. It should also be one of our focuses as well as we grow together. Now, I'm sure we will have great insights from our speakers today. Please allow me to just give a short introduction to our speakers. First speaker, he was previously the Vice President Director and Commissioner of Indonesia's flagship air carrier Garuda, a familiar face in tourism and also aviation industry. He now leads InJourney. InJourney is a state-owned holding company consisting of airport, cargo services, tourist attractions, hotels, product retail management, creative industry as well, and also InJourney is dubbed to be the future of tourism in Indonesia. Welcome the CEO of InJourney, Mr. Donny Oscaria. Let's give a round of applause.
Thank you.
Donny. Our next speaker has held senior roles in public affairs and public policy in Foodpanda, also in Jewel Labs and advisory firms such as APCO Worldwide and also Asia Group Advisors. He is very passionate about ensuring businesses that grow in sustainable and ethical manner while also building trust, win-win relationships with key stakeholders. He is the head of public affairs for Asia Pacific at Booking.com, Mr. Yang Lee. Please give a round of applause to Mr. Yang Lee. And our next speaker has a proven track record in orchestrating successful Design Week events in Thailand to celebrate innovation and design. She also initiated district developments, fostering collaborations within the Thai Creative District Network, and established strategic partnership with UNESCO. And she is now the Director of Creative City Development of Thailand Creative Economy. Please welcome Ms. Montini Yongvikul. So I've said enough. I only have questions next. So my first question is for everyone here, but I'll just start off with Donny and go further on later on. So what we want to talk about first is the change that you've seen especially if we compare it to pre-COVID and post-COVID. So what is the most profound impact and changes that you see in the creative economy and tourism sectors that fundamentally is altering the way that we consume the industry and the whole landscape? What is impacted the biggest, and what change do you see? So I'll start with you, Padoni.
Thank you, Timothy. Before I explain about the change on the tourism and creative economy, I would like to express the change in how Indonesia changed the strategy in tourism and creative economy. Before, in the last 5 years, the government changed the way we're approaching this industry. Before, we were more focusing on marketing, but in the last 5 years, we realized that this industry basically is based on the destination.
Yeah.
So we changed the whole we manage this industry. Now, since we understand that the last 5 years, the government already introduced the 5 super priority destinations for Indonesia. And just 2 years after we introduced the 5 super priority destinations, the COVID happened.
Yeah.
And then during the COVID, we using this time to establish new company that called InJourney. InJourney is actually the holding company for the aviation and tourism. So this will be the changes to the whole ecosystem of Indonesian tourism.
And your task with that.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is the first ecosystem holding actually for the Indonesia. So during the pandemic, we think that the behavior of the customer will be changed.
Okay.
So we prepare to change also the way we manage our company. But now, after the COVID is finished, we see that the tourism industry is still the same.
Okay.
People still want to touch something. People still want to see something. Before, we think that the behavior of the customer will be changed now more on virtual and more on the online. But in fact, like in Indonesia, basically we have 2 inbound airports, since we also manage the airports here. Jakarta and Denpasar.
Yeah.
But yes, it changed on the business sector, because Jakarta is more, the visitor to Jakarta is more on the business.
Yeah.
But in Bali, they're more on the tourism. Like today, we see that the numbers of visitors to Denpasar we already reached 95% before COVID. So the way people do the travel, the tourism is still the same.
Okay.
But of course, the way the distribution model is different now. Yeah, people more on the online booking and everything. But in the business side, we're facing a big change. Like in Jakarta before, like in Jakarta, the recovery rate for the Jakarta is already 35%. It's only 35%. This means that in the business sectors, the behavior of the customers is changed, but on the tourism, that's still the same like the before COVID.
Interesting. Maybe bookings has also numbers on that. Is there, because I would guess that it's been good after COVID, but Padoni just said that there's a difference between tourism and also business travels. Do you see that as well, or what changes have you seen?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I mean, for everyone who doesn't know, Booking.com, we're an online travel platform. You can book hotels. You can book flights now as well as attractions. So we're also expanding the scope
anyone
of our
doesn't know
business.
Booking.com. So.
So I think, obviously pre-COVID, we actually, the biggest change that we see is people obviously got online during COVID. We saw our search numbers increase significantly during COVID. And that pattern of using online services generally has gone up. We obviously have a lot of conversations with, physical in-person agents that book hotels and book flights. That usage went down significantly during COVID, right? And that's probably pretty obvious because everybody started using online services. That trend of using online services, particularly on our platform, has significantly rebounded. As Pak Dani and Timothy alluded to, we saw a increased to 150% of our COVID number sales in 2022.
Wow.
So that's last year. That number has since plateaued a bit, as sort of, what we saw was a lot of pent-up demand. People, as Pak Dani said, people want to experience physical things.
Yeah.
No offense to our friends at Meta who want, tourists to experience the metaverse, but I think people still want to experience physical things and physical destinations. So that has absolutely not changed. I think a couple of trends related to travel that we have seen that has been a market shift compared to pre-COVID is that increase in intra-ASEAN and intra-Asia-Pacific travel has significantly gone up. We saw a tremendous surge in domestic US travel. That is cooling a bit. We also, all of us, I think, expected a strong rebound of the Chinese traveler. That has not emerged. So far, we're still wondering, when that boost will come. But I think that's on the demand side. I think the other side, which is the supply side, to Pak Dani's former employer, is I think part of the constraint of travel has to do with how airlines and how hoteliers and how hospitality providers are able to provide capacity. So we know that a lot of the Chinese airlines have struggled to build back capacity. A lot of the planes that they have mothballed can't actually be brought back to service. They have to buy new planes, and new planes aren't just rolling off the supply line, right? So I think part of the reason we're not seeing the Chinese traveler isn't because they don't want to travel, it's because plane tickets are exceptionally expensive. For all of you guys who have flown here, I'm sure the budgets have increased for covering flights. So I think part of that is a supply side constraint, and if we see the prices go down, I think we'll see shifts in travel patterns again.
Okay.
And I think one last trend that we're seeing is the rise of what we call the B-leisure travel, which is business travel is the primary activity, followed by leisure, either right before or right after.
Okay.
I think what's happening is that people want to bundle trips together because they're able to work from home or work remotely. I think that work remote culture is actually expanding to travel because people don't feel like they have to go fly right back to the office.
I see. So the flights to Bali, maybe Pak Doni, they also work in Bali. But instead of just stopping in Jakarta, let's just go to Bali, work from there. I guess maybe that answers a little bit of that aspect. So Ms. Montini, from the creative economy sector in Thailand, what do you see? What changes do you see?
So, do you hear me? So, my job is like, I come from the different angle from these two gentlemen, but I have to work with them because I work for to support the creative industry in Thailand. And after the COVID, we saw that the people access to internet more and more. And then the online content is a big trigger for tourism industry. That's why we try to promote the content industry like film, music, and series in Thailand to trigger the young generation to come to travel and also to create more value in terms of business. And we saw another part of change in Thailand as well, once the destination is still important. So that's why we saw many creators return to local area in many provinces in Thailand because among the COVID, the cost of living is high up, and then they relocate their business to local or their hometown. So we found that there's a lot of creators in local area, and then they can gather to be the creative group to create some kind of event that's very interesting, the festival or the recipe, the taste of local. They change the perspective of the traditional festival to be the creative festival that can attract the new tourists, especially the young generation. So this is the things that we saw, and then we try to support them to happen more and more.
Oh, so that happens locally in the communities?
Yes.
Oh, beginning from them?
Right.
Okay. So has there been challenges in building the industry, and how has it been post-COVID? After COVID, would you say that you're twice stronger, or has it been challenging to get back to the situation before COVID?
Yeah, it's very challenging because to get back before, the creative industry in Thailand, not much that can grown up because of the ecosystem, in some ecosystem, like regulation or some funding, lack of funding. But fortunately, the online market open for the creative content that they can find a way to get back and then can connect to the global market more and more.
At least it provides them a platform.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now I'm moving on to the nexus between tourism and also the creative industry. We know that the creative community as well, it could really help people experience more and therefore bring more tourists to wherever destination it is. Now, what would you say is the nexus, and which areas, which key cross-sector opportunities do you see in the very near future that can be done to promote this and probably to build the creative industry and to support more the tourism, especially in the ASEAN Indo-Pacific area? Adoni.
We understand that the tourism and the creative economic is like two sides of the coins. Yeah? Mm-hmm. So we cannot, sometimes, like in Indonesia, we're using the creative economy as the attraction for the tourism. Like in Bali, for example. Yeah? Some of the tourists come to Bali because of they want to see the tari kecak or something like that, the kecak dance and everything.
They know what they're coming for.
Yeah, they know the reason why they come to the some destination because of the creative industry also. So in this case, in Indonesia, the Minister of Tourism is also responsible for the creative economy. So I think now is like in Indonesia now today is we more develop on the destination based on the creative economy. Like we just relaunched our the miniature of Indonesia, the Taman Mini is the content of the creative economy. So we develop this as a attraction for the tourism. So I think in the future, these two, the tourism and the creative economy should be work together, because if the creative industry we can use also as a tools to promote our destination, and also in the tourism, most of the tourists also are looking for the creative industry. So I think the both industries should work together.
So what is Indonesia doing on that? What do you see?
Now I think we changed some policies also in the creative industry we're using this as a to promote our tourism. Like in the movie, we're starting to change the policy before, some restriction in the movie industry in our policy. Now we changed the whole policy. Now the Indonesian now starting to use the creative industry to promote our tourism.
And very prepared to do so at this moment. Mr. Lee, maybe you have an opinion. I'm sure you have an opinion on this as well. You might see the link between that, the creative industry in certain areas like ASEAN, Indonesia, Thailand, and other areas, to tourism. Is there like a strong link? And how can we really utilize this link? What do we need to know from the Booking.com side?
Yeah, I mean, it's intricately linked. So, I mean, people go to a place because that destination has local art, it has sport. People visit a place not just because of the destination. I mean, what is a destination made up of? It's made up of history, it's made up of individuals, it's made up of stories, right? And Booking.com, we completely believe in that. We're one of our key kind of focuses in terms of marketing is sponsoring major sporting events. You guys might have seen that we sponsored the Super Bowl in the US. We sponsored FIFA Women's World Cup. We sponsored the International Cricket Championships this year. And we are continuing to sponsor these major sporting events because we believe that people seek to go to those things. And if you see the attendance numbers, they're absolutely matching that assumption. So beyond that, we also believe that local content is extremely actually useful and very, very a big draw. So for example, I think someone from Coca was just here and talked about the wave, the Korean wave.
Yeah.
It's actually, we are running a campaign now called the Ultimate K-Pop Suite. And basically what it is you get to come and visit the favorite restaurants, cafes, and bars of your K-pop star that you recognize from TV.
Those restaurants have been there for years.
Correct, and nobody knows about them,
Yeah,
right?
nobody knows about them.
Or for example, the Netflix show Crashing Onto You, I don't know if you guys know about that.
Okay.
It put the town of, a Switzerland town called Isselvold, which is a fishing village of 400 people, it completely overran with tourists because of that Netflix show.
Yeah.
So the connection between creative economy and tourism is extremely close, in fact. And actually, because of COVID, because everybody was consuming Netflix and Amazon Prime and Disney Video during COVID, that influence of visual media to tourism is even stronger now than it was before COVID.
Okay. So Booking.com wants more countries to do that, right?
Well, I'm not sure that Swiss fishing town is very happy necessarily with the inflow of tourists, but you know, that is a phenomenon.
Actually, I think it's Crash Landing on You. Yeah?
Crash Landing
I know
on You,
my
yes,
K-pop.
yes, that's
Yeah,
right.
I know my kid. I just browse Netflix too often at night. Ms. Montini, maybe you could give an example of that as well. You know, when you have a creative product, it could bring a lot of more tourists. I mean, Korea is going, you know, the pop culture is going crazy right now. Everybody loves it. Thailand, I'd have to say, we saw that during one movie. There's one particular movie that's famous around the world, which is Ong Bak, the trilogy. If you could just bring us back there, did it help at that much as well to bring tourists into Thailand? Does it have that big of an effect? And probably learning from that, has Thailand learned how to maintain the hype, you know, to bring people more people into Thailand from cultural products?
Okay. So, Ong Ba is
It's a
very
phenomenon.
long time ago.
A long time ago, yeah.
Long time ago. At that time, I think everyone, especially a man who want to act like the Javanom,
Yeah.
to everybody learn in the class of kickboxing,
Yeah.
and found that it's too difficult to be Javanom.
It's too
right?
tiring. I tried. It's too tiring. I
Right.
couldn't do it.
So from that time until now, we have not much movie that could create that kind of impact. We have only the ghost movie that to utilize the scary imagination
Horror
of
movies, yeah.
Yeah, the horror movie. The horror movie is like our selling point for the Thai movie. And in the last couple weeks, we saw a new trend that we can keep the momentum to attract the people come to Thailand or to know about the Thailand. We set up like we call the Y series, the boy love series, because this kind of series they have the content and character that fit to the new value of the new generation. It's about the genderless and gender equality. So once they can fit the content can fit the global market with this new value, they can expand to the related business like the brand presenter, the event, or even the tourism that can expand to the new global tourists that can connect to this story and then came back to Thailand and maybe can expand to another business, as I mentioned.
As we've heard just from the Deputy Minister of Cambodia, Madam Pen said that they're looking up to Indonesia, Thailand, and Philippines as well. So Thailand is one of the more advanced in creative economy here in the ASEAN region. So what do you need to go even further at this moment for Thailand?
For Thailand?
Yeah.
Actually, I think the ASEAN have a lot of potential. And I think we face the same problem in Thailand. We got the annual budget for support.
Budget is always a problem.
Yeah. to see the presentation from Kokka, we said, oh, wow.
Looking at their budget?
Yeah, we got a lower budget compared to the value creation that we create from the creative industry. And that is, I think we face the same problem. And the second one is like we have many creative, but how to connect the creative people to the business model is quite difficult because we didn't want them to be the businessman, but how to utilize that creativity to be the new business model. Because one, you want to expand your creative industry, you have to understand more and more about the business and also some networking, some partnerships. So we try to launch this kind of program to uplift the skill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same question to Pak Doni. If we want to advance our creative sector to, contribute more to tourism, what does Indonesia need right now?
Actually now, Indonesia is more focusing on the destination development.
Okay.
We are in the good timing, in the good time, since the collaboration between the Minister of Public Works and Housing, the Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economics, and also with the engineer, we are now trying to develop many destinations. In Bali now we're developing the medical and wellness destination. We have collaboration with the Mayo Clinic and 20 aesthetic clinic from Korea.
Oh.
Yes, and also we collaborate with the fertility clinics from Malaysia, and wellness from Thailand also. So this is one of the big projects for Indonesia to bring to the next level of our tourism. It's not only the culture and nature, but we also now improve our quality of destination, since we also learn from the Thailand, where we understand that numbers of visitors to Thailand and to Indonesia is the difference is very high. Currently, I think that Thailand is in a year the number of visitors reach 40 million. In Indonesia, it's only like 17 million.
17.
So yeah, so we learn from them also, like in how Thailand developed their destination. In Bangkok itself, for example, they have 60 golf courses. Compared to Bali, we only have 3 golf courses. Now we're starting to develop our destination. In Bali, we developed the medical and wellness complex. We bring the international brand just to add some more destination in Bali.
More reasons to come.
Yes, there's for example, the second one, like in how we now change our Borobudur temple to become the Buddhist temple, since we understand that the market for Buddhists in Southeast Asia is very big. Now we change, before that Borobudur temple is only, we are not using that as a Buddhist temple, but now we open that. We just did the Waisak in Borobudur. We collaboration also with the Thailand, and we bring the monk from Thailand to Jogja, to Borobudur. And now we are in the discussion with the travel agents, many travel agents from Thailand. We just did the fam trip to Jogja, and we also opened the connectivity between Bangkok and Jogja. And we understand next, at least we can bring at least 3 million, 3 million visitors to Jogja, since we understand that Borobudur is one of the the best for the Buddhists to visit, to do some prayer and everything.
So religious travels.
That's the only. There's also something that we developed. And the other side, we see that we are also developed the Mandalika. Mandalika, if one good example also how the government now did the collaboration between the Minister of Public Works and Housing, developed the infrastructure from the airport to the Mandalika special economic zones. Not only the highway, but also the infrastructure surrounding the complex. And in Journey, developed the airport, the big airport, nice airport, and also we developed the hotel inside the complex. We develop also the circuit. We bring the MotoGP inside to promote the Mandalika. So this is
That,
the next level of how Indonesia manage the tourism sectors.
so that's exactly it. When you build the Mandalika, you also bring the events. That's what you have to do, and to create the whole ecosystem there to make even those who've never been there comfortable to go there. So that's interesting from Indonesia. Now, I guess we only have time to touch upon sustainability and inclusivity. So I'll go to Mr. Lee about this. I mentioned on how the numbers, and also our speakers here have mentioned that it's been good after the pandemic. Numbers have been good. Booking.com has been working hard for the past 2 years, but everybody with a happy face there. But how do we keep it, sustainable? How do we keep it inclusive? Because we have to give this chance to everyone, and probably competition in grabbing the supply is high, but what does Booking.com do to ensure this?
Yeah, no, thanks for the question. I mean, maybe I'll touch on sustainability first. I think during the pandemic, one of the things that we obviously, everybody was it was very apparent, is how the nature and fauna recovered as a result of the footfall traffic decrease. I think there was a very popular news story about how fishes returned to the Venice canals. So I think that was very instructive for us as a company. So I think we were one of the first movers on developing a sustainability product within our user interface. It's called the Travel Sustainable Badge. It was launched in 2021. And the idea was to capture the sustainability investments our hotel partners were making. So things like, off-grid electricity generation through solar or wind, changing windows to be double paned, removing single-use plastics, incorporating EV charging stations within hotel garages. These features, we know a lot of our hotel partners are doing, but actually many of them don't go off and get certified.
Okay.
Get the certifications from LEED, for example, for building certification, or GSTC, Global Sustainable Tourism Council. So we thought, how can we help them be recognized? But I want to emphasize, we're not a certification body. So we developed this badge program. It still has a lot of room to improve, but since the day we started in 2021, November 2021, to date, we have about 500,000 properties with the badge. To put that in perspective, that may seem like a lot, but we have about close to 30 million listings globally, so it's still quite a long ways to go. But I think, as some of the speakers have alluded to since yesterday, sustainability is really a very big, long journey. Right? And tourism is an ecosystem. We control, and we can only influence a very small part. For example, back Donnie's previous employer, the airlines, they have to do their part. The last mile rental car industry has to do their part. But for us, what we try to do is we try to nudge consumers and hotel partners to do better, and we offer incentives and information to help them make the best choice. So that's what I'll say on sustainability. In terms of inclusivity, I think that's a very interesting question because, so I think for us, we kind of position Booking as a catch-all. We offer everything from hostels to 5-star hotels. And we know not every provider actually aims to do that. So we know, there are providers who aim to be exclusive. So I'm sure many travelers, they book their 5-star hotels from Amex Travel, for example, and call the concierge. And then there are backpackers who only use Hostelworld, for example. So I think for us, the value we provide is we want to try to provide the most choice across the full spectrum of offerings. And I think that's what made us popular. And we've been able to do that because I think also because we've been around for a very long time. Booking was founded in 1996, so we've been around for more than 27 years. So yeah, in tech years, we're considered probably ancient.
But it's nothing like 96 anymore in 2023, right? So you've learned a lot along the way. And being from 96, you've gone through a lot of very dangerous years there. So interesting from Booking.com. Now, Ms. Anthony, I'd like to ask also about sustainability and also inclusivity. We talked about the cultural heritage also that we have here in the ASEAN region. We talked about the creative industry that is growing here in ASEAN, the platforms that is being used to grow that as well. But in the process, things tend to get left behind if we, again, put them in the back burner. There are people who are unfamiliar with the technology. There are people who do not have the access, and then the technology or the projects become less inclusive for them. Now, how do you keep, in Thailand, how do you keep it inclusive? The creative economy, as it grows, how do you keep it inclusive for everyone in Thailand?
So, as I mentioned earlier, that there's a lot of people who are from creative sector return home, and from my point of view, my agency try to keep this kind of people stay there, because this kind of people who are from the creative sector, they know how to add value to the heritage culture, and they know how to, they have the mindset of the sustainability or like the inclusive people, because once they return home, we found many evidence in province in Thailand. They set up the studio for the children, mostly are the art studio. The art is like open for everyone in the community to join in, and then in the meantime, they create the products that to create the fair trade. Like we have many design products to give a fair trade to the community or to the viewer. So that's why in terms of policy, we try to keep these people to stay in the local communities, because now they can do their job anywhere, because the technology can help them to stay, and also the delivery system is also help them to stay in the local area. So to keep them there is the best way to keep sustainable way and inclusive people.
It keeps track, and also it's more reachable that way when they're there. Interesting as well. So probably just a closing statement from everyone. What collaborations do you wish to see if we're talking about trying to advance our creative economy in the region, in our countries, and also what do you see in the future for tourism when we're talking about building a more creative economy around the world? Padoni?
I think I would like to use this opportunity to express my opinion about the region, the ASEAN region. This is actually the good opportunity for us to bring the tourism. It's not only like Indonesia by Indonesia and Thailand by Thailand, but we need the collaboration between the ASEAN countries. Like in Sanur, we developed the medical tourism. We bring two good brands from the ASEAN countries, from the Malaysia and also from the Thailand. I think that's also opportunity for Indonesia brand to exist in all ASEAN countries. That's the first one. The second one is the connectivity between these countries. I think we need to improve how we see this region as a seamless connectivity.
Yeah.
Like today we want to open the Yogyakarta to Bangkok, Yogyakarta to Cambodia, and vice versa. I think this is the next level of the ASEAN countries. We should go together to see the opportunity to increase our tourism industry and our creative industry. Then I believe that in the future that would be happen if we can work together to bring this and also penetrate the same market together. This is like we are very close each other.
Yeah.
When people comes to Kuala Lumpur, for example, it's easier for them to fly to Danau Toba. It's very close.
Very close.
Yeah, and also if people comes to Thailand, it's also they can come to Bali, so we can create the package between Indonesia and Thailand and something like that. So the next level, I think it's good for the association, like the Association for Tourism in Indonesia and Thailand and all the ASEAN countries. We work together how to bring the ASEAN tourism and creative economy to the next level. That's from my point of view.
Okay, collaboration. When the borders aren't there, it's so easy to interact. So easy. to build something together. Interesting point, Padoni. Thank you. Mr. Lee, what would your closing statement be about this?
Yes, so I think, there's strong, obviously, socio-political, macroeconomic challenges that's been mentioned already. But I think one fundamental truth that we've seen post-COVID is people will travel and they love to travel. That is not going to change. And I think for us as a company, we focus and doubling down on our philosophy of the 3 Ps, people, planet, and profit. Triple bottom line, I think everybody's familiar, but I think it couldn't be more apt now, given the focus of sustainability. I think from our perspective, we want to continue to work with governments to focus on a couple things related to sustainability and tourism. I think there's a lot to be done there, but tourism sustainability is complicated. It's complex because it's a big ecosystem. It's not like producer like Apple, for example, which controls their whole supply chain. We can only influence the airlines so much. We can only influence the hotel partners so far. So we need government to step in to help. I think one concrete policy I can share with you that has worked quite well in the housing space is in many cities across the world, but I'll just use one from San Francisco. The government incentivizes developers to produce social low-income housing with access to zero-interest long-term loans. So basically what they're saying is we will reward you to build bigger and better and more if you provide a social service while you do it. I think you can absolutely do that with sustainability. You can provide that incentive to build new hotels, new developments that have sustainable elements, and you get access to more capital. See, I think you have to make that kind of access to capital pathway smoother and faster, and then I think the developers will come. I think that's easier to do than legislating and requirements. That's always harder to do.
Low cost as well, right? Right that way. Thank you very much, Mr. Lee. Ms. Montini, what's next for the creative economy in Thailand? What do you say exciting next?
Among the ASEAN, apart from the FTA, we talk about trade and the products and labor, but why don't we can collaborate in terms of artists and creative people that can free flow among the ASEAN? Because the artists, I heard that our artists go to Borobudur to do like lighting festival there, to join a lighting festival there. So if we can enhance these artists and creative people to free flow among the ASEAN, they can go to collaborate with the local communities and also like some destination. They can create some attraction or new perspective of that destination. So if we can collaborate among the ASEAN, we can have like the new tourist destination every year from artists in ASEAN. So that's why I think I don't know that we have infrastructure to support them now or not, but I think it would be a positive way to do it, and I think it could be do it without like we can just adjust the regulation or something. It's not to invest much in this.
Interesting point as well, Ms. Montini. I guess that also adds up to trying to just bring down the borders and anything that's hindering us from working together, I guess. So artists moving from one country, from one ASEAN country to another, an ease of travel between these countries, an ease of actually, meeting a network base between artists in this region. I think that could do a lot. Borders, technology would also help bring down a lot of borders there. But then again, travel, we need easier ways to be traveling among ASEAN and Indo-Pacific countries. So there's a lot of room for regulation. There's a lot of room for collaboration as well here, and a lot of room for deregulation. I guess that's the word, not regulation, but deregulation. But there's a lot of aspects to that as well. But I see the energy there in ASEAN, and I'm sure that with the youth of ASEAN, the big population of youth in ASEAN, they expect that as well. Now, creative economy, I expect to see a lot more exciting stuff from ASEAN coming up in the following years. We've seen a lot of growth in creative economy from a lot of countries, Indonesia as well, taking the world stage as well. So let's hope that that also attracts more and more people within the region, ASEAN and Indo-Pacific. Thank you so much for your insights, ladies and gentlemen. Please give a round of applause to Padoni, Mr. Lee, and also Ms. Montini. Thank you for your insights. And we'll hope to see you again, maybe in another city in ASEAN as well. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks again. Thank you.
Once again, we'd like to thank our moderator and also our esteemed speakers today for that. Once again, a very lively and insightful sessions. Ladies and gentlemen, after listening to the panelists today sharing their insights, their experiences, we will now continue with the next session. Now, before moving on to the next fireside chat, ladies and gentlemen, again at the ASEAN Indo-Pacific Forum, implementation of ASEAN Outlook on the Indo-Pacific. Ladies and gentlemen, today together at Ballroom 3, we are here gathered to discuss more about creative economy. But we do hope that all of you today, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, have also had the chance to exchange ideas about the other two major topics or issues being discussed. As one of the first is green infrastructure and also resilient supply chains. Now speaking about sustainability, ladies and gentlemen, that seems to be one of the words being spoken a lot about today. We hope and we are aiming to explore ways to foster green and sustainable infrastructure development and also ways to fortify supply chains against global disruptions. And also another major issue being spoken and discussed here at the ASEAN Indo-Pacific Forum, again, sustainable and innovative financing, where this sub-theme also aims to discuss efforts how to mobilize funds for green initiatives and accelerate sustainable development as well as connectivity in the Indo-Pacific region. And now, ladies and gentlemen, of course, we will continue. Let's transition to our next agenda for the day. We will have another fireside chat. And with that, get ready for another engaging session that promises to enlighten and inspire all of you today. So please join me in welcoming to the stage our moderator, the managing partner of Vietnam office, McKinsey, Mr. Bruce Delte, and also our esteemed speaker, the CEO of FPT Smart Cloud, Mr. Lê Hồng Viet. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, good afternoon. Everyone can hear me? All good? Okay, good. Very good. So my name is Bruce Delte, and as mentioned, I live in Vietnam. I'm the managing partner of McKinsey there. And this CEO Fireside Chat is to hear a little bit more about what it takes to take a digital product idea or vision, make it a reality, and then sustainably grow a business related to it. So very happy today because we have Mr. Viet, Mr. Le Hoang Viet, who came from Vietnam as well yesterday to be with us, and who is the CEO of one of the largest subsidiaries within FPT, and FPT being the unrivaled technology player in Vietnam and also involved in a number of countries outside Vietnam. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Bruce, and good afternoon, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the event today, right?
So I think we should probably start by introducing FPT a little bit. So if you could tell us a bit more about the group, quick words about the last 35 years, and then where the group is today, and in particular, FPT Smart Cloud,
Right.
that you are heading.
Yeah. So FPT is like one of the definitely the largest IT company in Vietnam. We founded in 1988, and surprisingly at that time there is no corporate law yet in Vietnam. So one of the very first company established in Vietnam after the renewal of the economy. And at the beginning we already identified innovation and technology is the key cornerstones for our company to be successful. And actually, at the very beginning, we start with food. That's why it's FPT, Food Processing Technology.
Right.
And after 2 years, we pivot into IT. And from that time, we built, I think, most of the largest IT systems in Vietnam for for the government, for financial institutions, and reach out to the community as well. And in 2000s, the year 2000, our founder decided to go global, and we extend our business to developed countries like US, like Japan, and provide IT services to this company. And right now, AIPT is around $4 billion in terms of revenue, and we're operating in 29 countries in 3 main areas. First one in technologies, second one is telecommunication, mostly in Vietnam, and the third one is on educations, where we right now having around 160,000 students in our education systems, and in total, AIPT is serving around 56 million Vietnamese people through our solutions, and around 600,000 SME enterprises and SMEs in Vietnam through our products, creative products, of course. And talking about AIPT Smart Cloud, then we are the number 8 subsidiary in AIPT, and our mission is to accelerate the digital transformation through key technologies. And we've been working actively in 3 main technologies these days. The first one is cloud, of course, as a foundation for all IT system coming into the future. The second one is data, when you capitalize on the data. And the third one is AI, when how can we automate things, how can we increase the productivity, and how can we increase customer experience through these technologies.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So let's get into the core of our talk, right? Because you've explained that FPT embarked on every new wave of innovation until what you're doing today, which is really, you've got the AI platform in place and so on. Can you tell us a little bit on what it takes to actually get to that initial intent, right? To embark on a new wave of innovation and actually make it happen? Because I think that would be very valuable for a lot of players, and to understand actually how you've done it at FPT.
So I think the most important thing is the vision. How can we imagine about the new world?
Right.
And AIPT is always looking forward to into the futures, and the leaders of AIPT Group also have strong passion in innovating technologies and bringing those technologies to serving for common goods. So the desire and the vision of the leadership team is one of the very key area. And the second one is definitely the people. In AIPT, we motivate people to be creative and to have ownership of what they have been doing. So, for example, our company is established when we was a small R&D team inside AIPT Corporation, and we have freedom, and we have people, creative people to conduct R&D, and then we can build a product. But that's the very initial phase. The most important thing is how can we bring it into life? How can we find the right use cases for these products? Because the product is just a product. If you don't bring it into life, it will die. So working very closely with the community and with the customer will help us to identify the right pain points. And then our products will be very much focused on these pain points. So I can share your story. For example, we have a very interesting story. Right before COVID, we incubated an AI product to automatic engagement with users. First, we provide to financial industry to have improving the quality of the contact centers, automating the human conversations between the contact centers and the end users and the business. And then COVID happened, right? So we pivot very quickly to bring it to the government. At that time, we we have a lot of people having COVID in Vietnam and have potentially having COVID in Vietnam. And then the government needs to have a way to control precisely who are infected and who are not.
Right.
Then we turn our contact center into a giant COVID surveillance systems, right? So we call to every individual seasons, and we ask about the symptoms, and then we provide automatic advice for them how to respond to these symptoms. And then we also having the inbound contact center for the government. When they need help, they call in. Before applying these technologies, then it's like overflow of the contact center. Nobody is picking up the calls.
Right.
But when we introduce the new contact center in, automatically the system pick up the call and then qualify the inbound calls, and who really need help, then we redirect it to the right people. So it's helped a lot for the campaigns in Vietnam.
Okay. So as a quick summary from that genesis into a product, you mentioned three things, right? You mentioned encouraging people to be creative, right? Number two, I think there was the part related to meeting of minds, and stakeholders talking to each other, and then eventually getting there and then improving along the way, right? Now, in a new phase of development, like, everybody talks about Gen AI today, right? Where you have to make choices between what use cases I'm going to go for, what first step should I take moving forward. How do you go about filtering this?
So I think safety first, always safety first. So we need to identify the use cases that we can control the quality of the answers. For example, we go first with financial industry because everything is very clear based on the numbers and of the policies that they already have. And then we go to creative industry as well.
Right.
Gen AI is very well performing in creativities, and it's no harm that you're creating something special. But we are more skeptical in healthcare because it can affect people severely if the answer is providing in a not a proper way. So we qualify it based on the safety to the operation and to the people, and then we provide the measure to control the result as well.
Right, yeah. Okay. So you touched a little bit before with the COVID example in the relationship and also the cooperation that FPT may have with governments and non-private entities, right? And digital inequality is probably one of the challenges that we're facing in ASEAN. And then obviously, as you said, innovation and turning it into action works if the majority of people can actually benefit from it. So perhaps you can tell us a little bit on how you see your mission, right, as a private technology company, and how you interact with perhaps non-profit or government to overcome that digital inequality challenge.
So I think the most challenge for digital inequality is the people and the provinces. They need to have a better way to invest in technologies. We all know that technology can assist people quite a lot, and especially with less advantaged people. Right. So the way that AIPT is approaching is we work very closely with local government, the provinces, and we do have a program to co-invest with the local government. So AIPT is investing first, and then we work with the local government to bring that solution into life. And from our experience, it is always more successful when you have a collaboration with the provinces in the bottom of the list, because they really have a great ambition to bring good life to the people living there, but they don't have the economic advantage to do that.
Right.
So when technology is coming in, they find out that it's the new tools for them to develop the people there. So we bring in the technologies, and then after that, we bring in the education system as well. So
yeah, I was about to get into that. Is that also through that channel that you find talent, perhaps, or where the FPT University comes in, or you build capabilities on the ground as well, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So because we right now have 160,000 students in our list, so we spread out in the country, and everywhere we go in Vietnam, we go in between both education and software park together. So we provide education from K-12 and university in that province, and then we build the software park beside that university, so that the student graduated from the university can go directly into the software park, and then they can provide their knowledge, their creativity, their innovation to all over the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so this is a bit of the formula, right, that FPT is taking and doing and implementing in Vietnam. Now, and perhaps as a way of getting into a conclusion as well, if we start thinking from an ASEAN perspective, do you think that would be the right approach across ASEAN?
Yes, I think we do have the right approach. We do see that the right approach across Asia, because FPT is also extending to Asian countries. Here in Jakarta as well, we have our business here. And we do see that the education and the creative innovation technologies need to go hand in hand. The formula may be different, a little bit different. It can come, in Vietnam we built our own university. Here we can collaborate with many local universities here as well. So we built our local capability here in Jakarta, in Indonesia, and then we're cooperating with local universities in order to bring it to the world when we through our business partners around the world. Yeah.
I see. Okay. And maybe one last question is, what do you think will be the biggest challenge over the next 3 to 5 years? Maybe for FPT, you know, or related to the discussion we had on overcoming the technology challenge from an ASEAN perspective?
So I think the technology right now is changing very fast. So for me, the most challenge will be we are not acting fast enough in response to these technologies. So for example, if we are not applying AI properly, then if we are not fast enough in using AI into the right use cases, then we will fall much behind. AI definitely can increase productivity, and what is exactly what ASEAN need, right? Taking the advantage of the current change in technology is the key success factors for Asian countries, I believe. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I think we may be running over a little bit.
Yeah.
But thank you. That was a great exchange. A bit short, but very valuable lessons from Vietnam, from FPT, on technology growth and innovation.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah.
Thank you very much once again to our moderator and our esteemed speaker for that very lively fireside chat. Once again, thank you very much for sharing with us and making that conversation was truly exceptional. Ladies and gentlemen, still at the ASEAN Indo-Pacific Forum 2023, implementation of ASEAN Outlook on the Indo-Pacific. We hope that you have enjoyed the previous sessions and also had the opportunity to engage in valuable conversations and also had the time to network with each other. We are now very excited to continue our journey of knowledge sharing and collaboration. But again, we'd like to thank all of you for still being part of our event today. And we'd like to invite all of you also to rekindle our enthusiasm and focus as we're about to delve in the next session. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know that this forum aims to unlock further opportunities and how we can find ways to build stronger connectivity between ASEAN countries and the Indo-Pacific, and find ways to promote collaboration in the Indo-Pacific itself. Knowing that this forum has invited 88 speakers, gathered around 2,500 participants from 51 countries. And so, ladies and gentlemen, up next, we will together gather here for our exciting panel session, which will be titled Funding and Opportunities in Movies and Digital Products. And we will have our moderator and also our list of speakers today who hopefully will shed the light and also share their experiences, their insights on this topic. Again, speaking together on this creative economy at this Ballroom 3. Soon after this, we will still have another panel discussion and also another briefer session before having to close this event this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the stage our distinguished moderator for this discussion is none other than Mr. Lin Newman, the Managing Director of AmCham Indonesia. And joining us as our esteemed speakers are Mr. Mike Wiluan, CEO of Infinite Studios Nongsa Batam. And we'd like to also invite Mr. Ruben Hattari, Director of Public Policy Southeast Asia of Netflix, and Mr. Chaitanya Divan, Head of Content Acquisition, Prime Video, Southeast Asia. And to our moderator, we give the stage to you.
I guess so. Okay. Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm quite honored to be at this session and to be asked to moderate a discussion. We have with us three panelists who are quite distinguished and active in the field of film production. I'll start by mentioning, I guess we'll start from my immediate left, Mike Wiluan, who is one of the leading figures in Indonesian film production and studio work, animation, and other things. He is the CEO of Infinite Studios and Nongsa Digital Park up in Batam, and a leading player in the industry here. In addition, we have my old friend Ruben Hattari, who is the Director of Public Policy for Netflix, Indonesian, of course, but based now in Singapore for Netflix. And in addition, we have Chaitanya Divan, Head of Content Acquisition for Amazon Prime Video in Southeast Asia. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
I want to start, if I may, with sort of a general question, but that has a lot of components to it. And it's a conversation that we have in Indonesia frequently, and I don't think we've quite worked it all out yet. But I'd like to give each of you an opportunity maybe to discuss what does it take to create a roadmap and a climate, a positive investment climate for the growth of film production in this region. But also, we're all active in Indonesia, so I think it's worth talking about that. Some countries in ASEAN are more successful than others in this field. So maybe we'll start with Chaitanya and then work our way this way, give each of you an opportunity to tell us what your ideal roadmap would consist of and what we need to do to unlock funding and other aspects of film production in the region and even in Indonesia.
Sure, thank you
Chaitanya.
for that, Lin. The way I like to think about this is there is a value chain in the media business. right? And what is the value chain here in video entertainment? It really starts with content creators, and we know that that is already a flourishing ecosystem. There are a lot of ideas out there. These content creators now have access to some of the tools that enable them to easily create audiovisual content. And then after the creators come the services that bring together all this content in a form and format that can be consumed easily. So whether that's streaming services like Prime Video, or whether it's the TV channels out there, they are really the second part of that value chain. And then you move to the distributors who are in a position to take these services to the end consumers. And of course, the value chain ends with the customers who are engaging with this content. And the way to think about it is, for each part of this value chain, what is the ideal number of players? What is the size of that part of the value chain? And what are the specific needs in that step of the value chain, right? And what can we do to strengthen every step of this value chain? Because ultimately, the strength of any chain is really equal to the strength of its weakest link. And if we are able to strengthen each part, then that ecosystem can flourish to create the kind of content and creative economy that we require.
Ruben?
Thanks for the question. It's kind of hard trying to think about a roadmap for the creative sector because, being creative, we don't really plan on roadmaps. But, I think, Netflix, we have been around in Southeast Asia since 2016, and we have seen tremendous opportunities here in Southeast Asia in terms of, the local content that we could potentially bring internationally, not across in the countries where we operate, but not across the region, but, globally, right? So I think bringing some sort of a framework where, we do have a clear plan to grow the local film industry is very much needed. And I know many governments across the region is looking at this plan or the roadmaps very, very seriously. But if I have to kind of look in, maybe four specific areas where I think, we can really deep dive and spend a lot of time collectively, I think one is that investing in the human resources in the film industry, right? I think that's very much needed. And I see this very much across the region where, the stories are there, but, you often go to movies here in Indonesia and the talent pool, whether it's above the line or below the line, we're tapping into the same resources over and over. And I think Mike will speak more about this later on as well. So I think kind of growing that human resources, not only quantity but quality as well. I think that's very much needed. I think number two, how do we actually bring more investment to this industry, right? I think many many governments are still grappling with the idea that creative economy has a massive spillover effect on other industries as well, right? And sometimes the spillover effect is not as direct as conventional industries, but it's there nevertheless, right? So it's like, how do we actually convince governments to think about, developing incentives to actually bring more investments into, our sector? And, I think that will further kind of spur the growth definitely for this industry. I think third is around, unfortunately, there's a lot of overlapping and regulations as well in this sector. Again, when I'm thinking about Indonesia, is a very decentralized government. And when you do a lot of production outside of Jakarta, you can think about the various layers of regulations that, a lot of the production houses have to actually go through in terms of seeking permits and licenses as well. And then, the other thing that we often kind of think about as well is also on the infrastructure, right? Coming from the OTT side, sometimes we think about infrastructure in the sense of connectivity, right? It's like, how do we actually get our services out there more accessible? But when we think about the infrastructure, it's also the hard infrastructure, like the studios, right? Are they there, right? I mean, I've had the pleasure of kind of visiting some of the sets, some of the production that we're doing, and when you think about kind of bringing foreign investments, that kind of level of investment on the infrastructures need to also be pumped up as well, right? So I'll park my answers there, but I think those are the 4 areas that I'm happy to kind of go deeper later.
Great. Mike?
Thank you, and I think certainly it's a very broad question with a lot of insight and discussion. Maybe my insight obviously is from a creative and producing practitioner in Indonesia, and just a little about what I've been doing over the, 20 years ago I started Indonesia's first animation studio, and I remember when we first started to develop the studio, we needed a roadmap or a vision of some kind, but we just understood that there was a need to digitize the industry. Indonesia is so creative and is so resourceful and has so much potential. So we knew there was an opportunity to capitalize on Indonesia's natural talent. We started off with 10 employees, and we've gone up to now close to 500 animators. And over the last 20 years, have cycled through many thousand local animators who have then set up their own studios all over Indonesia. And today we have dozens of studios across Indonesia producing very good content. And I remember when we first started producing the content, there was very little chance to get the opportunity to work with major studios. And we had to prove ourselves, and over the last couple of years, the first couple of years were really tough, not just promoting ourselves as a studio that was able to produce great content, but internally as well, to see the involvement and focus of how the market and the resources reacted. I remember when we first started hiring our first animators, I had to ask their parents' permission to hire them, because they didn't believe that their kids would have a future in the industry where they would go and play with cartoons and draw, right? And they just felt it was a waste of their time, and that, in 2 years they would come back and work for another industry that was more certain. So I had to do these seminars for parents and sort of like tell these parents that, look, there is a future in this industry, and that your kids are gonna make money, they're gonna have a good salary, and they're gonna be upskilled, and they're gonna be relevant for the future. And I remember going through those seminars thinking, how many more seminars am I gonna have to do this to grow this industry? And in no time at all, we managed now to do a lot of good business and now have a very big resource of great talent. But just going back to, that's just an analogy of how internally we've evolved in terms of the industry. But just as a whole, the creative industries, like my esteemed colleagues here have mentioned, that it's a huge business, and it's not just actors and producers, right? It's a whole ecosystem of there's the crews, there's the creativity, there's the writers, there's the directors, there's the equipment, there's the locations, there's the TV studios who support, there's the OTTs that are involved. It employs hundreds and thousands there's a lot of employment and benefit to tourism, to the economy, for films that come into Indonesia that are made. And when we talk about the reference to, like, a lot of people talk about the Korean wave that has swept the world, and how the industry has really ignited not just the promotion of Korean culture around the world, but the Korean film industry, right? It has really ignited and has found distribution and huge market and appreciation elsewhere. So we kind of feel that ultimately Indonesia has that massive potential, not just domestically, but for us to be able to export content internationally. Now, a couple of years ago, you may remember that there's been a few films that have been made that, like The Raid, and that ignited this huge renaissance in action genre in Indonesia. And after that, there's been quite a few movies that have been made with Indonesian talents that have found a huge following and market. I mean, I've been involved in some of those movies, and I've really seen this renaissance take off, and now these guys are actors and producers, they're working in Hollywood, they're working in Europe, they're working elsewhere, and we're really proud. But I think one thing is missing that I think definitely Ruben's pointed out, that, you know, I think there needs to be a lot more fixing and government engagement and collaboration. Engagement in ASEAN, obviously, with ways in which there are more formulaic structures in which we're able to find financing and grow each other's industries. You know, and also the creative industries, like there's a lot of great collaboration that's happening on ground level, like co-producers, co-collaborators that are happening between Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam. We see it happening all the time. But what we'd love to see is that happening on a G2G level as well, right? More platforms for us to be able to promote and cross-pollinate. And let me add just one more point then on this. Sorry, just very conscious of not overstepping my time here as well. But also what we're seeing in the market is more what OTT has done. OTT has enabled markets to slightly homogenize in that sense. You know, I think Southeast Asia has been incredibly, you know, traditionally a fractured marketplace with so many diverse languages, ethnicities, colloquialism. So sometimes what works really well in Indonesia won't work in Thailand, won't work in Malaysia, but there are crossovers that do work, right? I mean, we've seen the success of Korean content, Bollywood, Thai horror, Korean films, just really, and Japanese films. Right? I mean, we've seen them move across borders now more easily, and I say it's thanks to the OTT players that have come into the industry and have allowed more distribution potential for our content. So that's more opportunity that helps us grow the industry, and that helps towards the general roadmap.
Very thoughtful answers, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Going to ask some individual questions, and I'm going to start with Ruben. We'd like to know more about how Netflix Asia views funding and investment opportunities in emerging markets, and are there any best practices from around this region or individual countries that you think could be replicated and could help be a boost to the industry?
Okay. That's a loaded question there, but let me kind of take it in pieces as well. So, our business model is subscription, right? And the content that you see on every single title that you see on our catalog gets acquired in two ways, right? Either we license the IP, right? You produce, you hold the IP, and we kind of license it for an X amount of time. And based on the business negotiation, we would kind of say like, okay, this title is available in globally or in certain markets as well. But there is that kind of licensing model that exists, and when you normally, if you've kind of been a subscriber to Netflix in the region since 2016, pretty much all of our catalogs is licensed titles, right? All originals as well, but not really investing in kind of local originals where it's coming from Southeast Asia. There's the other kind of side of the content as well, where we invest in the titles themselves, right? And this is naturally done because there's more kind of fragmentation of more players in the industry as well in the OTT space, and we have seen success when we invest in more and more local content. The appetite to that local content increases as well. So, I'm kind of going back in 2016 when you would normally watch Netflix and you go to the top 10 list, as that we have on our system, and I would say like maybe 6 out of 7 of the top 10 would be dominated by Hollywood and K content as well. But I think if you look now, I think there's more and more kind of local content coming out of this region. Of course, we would love more coming out of this region, but there's definitely an uptick in terms of growing appetite as well, right? So, you see that there is more investment coming into local content production, whether it's coming from us or whether it's coming from other means of investments as well. One of the things that we have seen, and I think this is a conversation that the larger industry have seen as well, and very specific to Indonesia, is that post-COVID, theatricals recovery or rebound has been significant, and it's been relatively fast. Maybe not to the extent where it was before, but it is growing rapidly, and the consumption of moviegoers to actually look at Indonesian titles is incredible, right? I think at one point when it was first opened up, you're looking at a 60%, 40% local and international split, right? And some titles like such as KKN and other titles as well was clearing like 8 million tickets, right? And that is unheard of, okay? So that like people just want to go out there and watch movies. So there's definitely more and more kind of investments coming into this place, into this industry as well. Right now, I think it is tapering off. I think local consumption is kind of reduced, definitely not as high as 60% as well, because other kind of content is being explored as well. But in terms of investments, in terms of kind of best practices as well, there's a lot for us to learn from kind of our neighboring countries, right? I touched on leading with incentives to potentially kind of bring more investments into the industry. And one of the best practices that I look at, that I can see in the region would probably be Thailand, right, or Australia, right? But I think what most people don't understand is like Thailand's film industry journey started a long time ago, right? They started from something that is quite minimal as well. Like I think right now, if you're like looking at the new regulation that has just been passed by the Thai government, I think net you're looking around a 30% cash rebate, right? Of course, there's different tierings. So like if you're producing locally, you're producing with local talents, you're promoting the culture and tourism as well. It's almost like an add-on modular kind of incentive model as well. But there is the base minimum of I believe, 10% as well. And I think the reality is that when almost every single country in the region is going and promoting cash-based incentives, I think there needs to be like a compelling offering from the Indonesian government to really seriously look into this sector as well. It's like, well, what can we actually do to spur the growth of the industry? And this is not about just kind of bringing inbound production. What we really care about is like, how do we collectively grow the local industry as well? Because, once you grow the local industry, I can assure you the inbound productions and the inbound investments will eventually come because there's strong talents there, there's the right infrastructure there, and, by default, all of these kind of overlapping regulations that we currently see in Indonesia, one by one, it will be solved, and I can assure you.
Well, one of the things I think you're absolutely right, but the other thing is, how do you actually quantify the value of, say, the Lord of the Rings for New Zealand? How do you quantify even the value of Eat, Pray, Love for Bali? This is a hard thing to quantify, or the value of that. What was that? Was it Leonardo DiCaprio movie in Koh Phi Phi in Thailand, which The Beach?
Yeah.
Which created an industry based around that island.
Yeah, I mean, and this is one of the things that is very difficult about our creative economy sector, right? And it's difficult because it's difficult, but it's doable. Let me be clear on that, right? When we talk about trying to advocate for something, governments want to look at data points, right? And something that has been missing in this sector is that there's a lack of information and lack of data as well, right? And one of the things that Netflix has been doing with the local industry and with the Indonesian Film Board and the ministries as well is that we want to try to capture what is the true economic impact of the film sector as well. I mean, just as a starting point, right? And the way that you need to look at it is like once that you can actually capture and have a snapshot of how big the industry is, how influential the industry is, and what is the spillover effect to other industries, then you can start to build up the conversation to other things as well. But until that study is passed, and we are kind of looking to kind of passing that study around the October timeframe, it would be definitely a good stepping stone for other kind of conversations as well.
Yeah, I certainly agree. I'm going to turn to Chaitanya now from Prime Video, another amazing platform. Tell us a little bit. You're in charge of local content acquisition. Tell us, what is Prime's approach to local content acquisition, and what are your company's goals around this?
Thank you for the question. One thing, the way Amazon will approach any new territory, locale, is essentially try and understand what the customer needs are and then work backwards from there to define our product proposition. It is not about saying, this is Prime Video, this is the content we're good at, now let's go find an audience for it. We're always trying to work backwards from customer needs to shape our offering. And our global learning in Prime Video, this is true in Japan, this is true in India, this is true in EU, in Latin America. The global learning is local content is what leads and defines the service. So if you go ask a Prime Video customer in Japan, what does Prime Video offer you? The answer will be very different from what the customer in India or the customer in Germany or in Brazil will tell you, right? And that's true here as well. So if you look at our offering, of course we have our global content, we have a lot of Korean and Japanese anime and Indian content, all of that is part of the service. But a big part of our thrust is what we are doing with local content in the region and, as an example, in Indonesia too. And of course, the way that then operates is you cannot go in and offer 2, 3, 5 titles in a year. You need to offer enough volume to operate at scale so that customers get enough local content that they love watching consistently over a longer period of time. And which is why it reflects in the kind of partnerships we have got. We're working with multiple content creators in Indonesia to bring content. Earlier this year, we had a fantastic campaign. So during the Ramadan festival, what we did was we took 8 weeks around the festival, and every week we had a big local content title launching. Right? And that was a very big campaign from a marketing point of view, from a content investment point of view, and it really showed us the opportunity, the size of the opportunity, the potential of local content with audiences here, which only encourages us to double down and invest more. The other important point to this, I must say, is we are also very excited about the ability of content to travel across regions, right? We're seeing Korean content getting consumed across Southeast Asia. We are seeing anime content getting consumed in the region as well. We've started seeing some signs of, say, Indonesian content also traveling to other markets in Southeast Asia. And what our learnings on that is that localization of content is extremely important on day one. Now there is a flip side to it. There's also high levels of piracy in the region. So if we are not able to offer localized content on day one, if you're not able to offer content with Thai dubs or Malaysian subs, for example, if you're not able to do that, then there's this skyrocketing piracy which we have to face. So to tackle that, localization is important. Of course, then targeting specific customer cohorts who want to watch content and are open to content with subtitles or dubbing, that becomes part of our go-to-market plan as well. And really, we are very optimistic that the kind of quality that we are now seeing emerging from Indonesia we believe that we will have the kind of breakout successes that some of the other the media markets have already seen. But yeah, the local content is really a big, big thrust for Prime Video.
I'm going to turn now and ask a question of Mike. There's so many things we could ask you, but you've really been on the cutting edge of this industry in Indonesia. And I'd like to ask you what you see coming in terms of technological transformation. What are the things on the horizon that are going to disrupt the industry? And how do you envision that playing out, and how do you take advantage of it?
So after we started the animation studio, and it was more about, at that time, finding collaboration with, we were introduced to HP, and they had just, and DreamWorks, and we were trying to look at technologies to try to apply to our animation pipeline, and there was, I must say, there was very little interest to collaborate. It was more interest to sell, right? Like, how many computers and how many servers can you buy from us, right? Then maybe we'll see if we can help you out, right? But I think that's changed a lot, and it's just, we've made some missteps along the way as well, and I can tell you some stories that we were also the first. We looked at Indonesia and saw that there wasn't any real studio infrastructure. And we knew that at some point, technology and production meet. There needs to be a good studio infrastructure to produce a certain type of content. So we were the first studios that we built studios in Singapore. We built studios in Indonesia, and we realized very quickly that the industry just doesn't come if you build it, right? Because it's cheaper to hire a set. To hire a house and to go somewhere than to build a set in a studio. But
we'll just shoot that Cinetron in Menteng.
Exactly.
Right?
We'll just go to Ancol, and we'll use someone's backyard, and that's the film industry sometimes, or TV industry, and we had these great studios that were designed and built by Hollywood standard consultants, and we found that there was very little interest to use them because they were expensive to use. And so we kind of realized really quickly that maybe we were too far ahead of the game, or maybe we kind of did a bit of a misstep here, because what was that point where people would need that studio? Now, we started to make our own content in the studios and showed that through studio production, we're able to raise the quality levels because we had controlled environments. We're able to really pay more attention to performance, to visual effects, and we saw that the kind of content that was created in the studios was raising the standards, right? And we were happy about that. And in terms of technologies, we've seen technologies like motion capture, come, and it was changing a lot, right? Technology was moving at a rapid pace, like from the visual effects business, from the softwares, from proprietary technology to desktop computing to softwares that we're able to download is changing rapidly. So we decided not to get involved with the rapidly evolving technologies, because as soon as you buy something and install it, it's old. And everyone's looking for the latest thing. So that was the case with motion capture. We learned our mistake in building the studio maybe too soon. We built a studio in Singapore, and Singapore is incredibly expensive to produce content. So we've changed that model into more of the visual effects, digital side, and we've done the more heavy production in Indonesia. But in terms of future technology and where it's heading, we're seeing, during the pandemic, there was obviously this lockdown. And there were a lot of studios that were still in production because they applied this virtual production technology. And many of you have seen Mandalorian, and that was used primarily using virtual production technology. It is a sci-fi, and it did allow for the makers of the content to stay in one place and use plates from, shot from different production companies to be sent, and they were able to create it in CGI and 3D, and they were able to produce a very good-looking show. But it was expensive, and it was groundbreaking technology. And I believe now there are more virtual production technology studios that are now being applied in Australia, the largest now in Melbourne, and in Korea. And so we're heading that way in terms of virtual production technology. We're already using LED systems within the studio to allow for simulated environments, and instead of green screen, we're using technologies that allow the actor to interact directly with the object, right, with what they're seeing. Of course, we're still using green screen, and it's really moving quite quickly, and we're looking at applying it fully more in Indonesia in terms of the virtual production. But AI is the next big thing, right? So I mean, I think we'll talk about that a little bit later, but AI has been another game changer for us, because AI has been able to demonstrate a certain capability. And I think, as you could see in the US and in our industry, there's been a lot of worry about AI taking over the jobs of writers and, on content creators, and how that, but there's also the benefit of AI as well. There is a benefit to that, and we're exploring how that's able to streamline our production capabilities. But we're moving towards a digitized industry, all right? But it doesn't mean that we lose the craft, right? I think a lot of people forget that. I think the word of apprenticeship, so it's lost now, right? In this industry, it's a 100-year-old industry. The creative industry is based on apprentices, where they learn for many, many years to do a certain craft. And that's kind of changing more when technology comes in and is applying that new technology into this process. So in terms of a roadmap moving forward, we're going to see, in terms of distribution of content, it's going to change a lot, with 5G, with 6G coming on board, with the connectivities into more rural areas, and people are just going to want more. But just in terms of capability, Indonesia has now developed a very capable digital grasp on new softwares and technologies, like using the Epic Unreal Engine, for example. We're using Unreal in a lot of our projects right now. We're training. And what is needed now, when you want to grow the industry using technology, you need to upskill. You need to upskill the workforce. And this is where vocational education comes in. And it's being able to collaborate with technology developers. And that's why today we're not looking at just buying technology. We're looking to collaborate with the technology developers, like the LED screen makers. We want to collaborate with them to how we're able to use their technology, but give feedback and how the technology can improve. And using Unreal and using all these different softwares and hardware and collaborate and further the industry, but as well as upskilling and training. We spend a lot of time training the next generation of young people, like with our collaboration with Campus Merdeka, collaboration with Apple Academy, IBM, AWS. We're training this young generation to be ready for the future of technology and how to apply their skills to the quick evolution that's happening right now. And so that's the roadmap that we see in the future, is training and collaborating, training, upskilling, and collaborating with the technology providers, and keep on applying that to the creative process. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I was thinking about, you mentioned Korea. I think Ruben mentioned Korea. I was living in Korea just as the Korean wave was taking off, and this was this was in 2007 or 6, 7, something like that. And there is a question in here. There was a palpable sense of excitement in that society about the wave. You might have been an accountant, but you knew about it. And it was almost as if, well, Korea's a different sort of place. If you've never been there, it's quite amazing. But there was a sense in which the government, the public, the private sector were all in it together. Yes. They really wanted to tell people about Korea. Here's this little country built on rocks with no natural resources, and they really wanted to tell their story and create something new, and they did. So I'm going to ask each of you, we've got a few minutes left, I'm going to ask each of you to think forward 5 years, 10 years. Where do you see the industry going? What's the best case outcome you can imagine? What do you hope happens 5 years, 10 years down the road in this region, perhaps to replicate what happened in Korea, or something else? But I don't yet, in Indonesia, I don't yet feel that intangible thing that they had in Korea. And I would love to see it. And just ask any of you, each of you, maybe start with Chaitanya, reflect on where you think this is going to go in a few years.
Yeah, let's look at the size of the industry right now, right? And I'll compare with what is commonly called a thriving media market, India. India has about 4 times the population of Indonesia. The per capita income in India is probably half of what it is in Indonesia. So just using those benchmarks, you would expect that the media or the video industry here would probably be about half the size of India's economy, the creative economy there, but it's actually a sixth, right? And clearly there is potential, high potential for growth if you just look at some of these macro figures. I go back to what I started with. I was talking about the whole value chain, and I'm really hoping that between all the stakeholders, from the government to the private, we are able to look at the needs of the different pieces of those of that value chain and start catering to strengthen each element of the value chain. And if we are able to do that, I think then we can fulfill the potential that exists around us here in Indonesia.
You know, the interesting part about the entertainment sector or the creative economy is that, you know, everyone needs to be entertained, right? You know, the region is, it's a growing demographics. I mean, I think we all know the stats after having kind of watched the ASEAN Summit and the sideline events for the past few days. So the number speaks for itself. I think if I can, you know, think forward and kind of look through to a crystal ball, maybe to the 10, 15 years, I think the consumption of local content is going to increase. And this is not just local content that is, you know, serving every single country in ASEAN, but I think content that is coming from Indonesia going to be consumed more in the Philippines and vice versa, but also, you know, going abroad beyond the region as well, you know. I mean, and we have seen signals like this happening as well. I mean, you know, one of the most successful Indonesian title that came out of our service is called The Big Four. It's an action comedy by Timo Cahyanto. It was heavily consumed all the way to Brazil, right? In like countries such as in South America, it was appearing into top 10s. So, you know, we see the signals happening as well. So I do see a lot of that happening as well. You know, what I'm hoping across the region as well, and I think this is the mindset for many industries across the region as well, is that how do you actually cross-pollinate or, you know, have greater collaboration across country? I think Mike touched on like co-productions between countries as well. I think where we need to realistically look at is that, you know, are there elements or part of the production where maybe it could be done in a certain country, like in Thailand, and some parts of it can in Indonesia. So just look into the region as a massive supply chain as opposed to just one individual countries. And I think, you know, elements like that can happen. And, you know, kind of going back to incentives that I touched on before, that most countries will look at, you know, incentives doesn't have to be all about production, right? I mean, you know, when you look at the Australian model as well on film incentive, they have very specific incentives on post-production, right? Maybe like a country like Thailand where they excel in post-production, and the reality is that Many producers do offload their workload to Thailand as well. Maybe there could be models like that as well. Indonesia is a country that has strong talents, strong writers as well. Can we actually work in a model where we just look into a very specific, support where it's just very targeted on a particular function of a production? So I think some of those things I envision this region, and specifically in the film industry and the creative economy, will kind of venture into.
I think what is exciting from the industry is seeing that Indonesian filmmakers and content creators are, there's always been a very strong pool of talent in Indonesia, and it's growing. I mean, I was on a panel earlier last week where we talked about the Directors Guild in Indonesia officially has 76 people, right? But actually there are hundreds of directors in Indonesia. But like there's a culture of which if you reach like the top 10, you got work for life kind of thing, right? But there's also needs to shift towards the new and upcoming talent. It's just like actors, right? Once you're in the top 10, you're going to be busy for a couple of years. But sometimes industry also has to force themselves to change and give chances to new and emerging talents. And Indonesia has tons of that, right? And so sometimes our film industry or our TV industry, we make too many easy bets on the same people all the time. And I think it's forcing ourselves to kind of look at making bets on new talents and growing that, right? Because there's just so much great talent here in terms of the filmmaking side, the performance side. And what's exciting is that also now filmmakers are mining the colloquialism of Indonesia and doing very well. We're seeing more and more cinemas. I mean, we always know that Indonesia has been underserviced for screens, right? I mean, we have the largest markets in Southeast Asia, but we have probably the less screens per capita, right? And it's and we're seeing that grow, and we're seeing. I mean, Ruben mentioned that after the pandemic, we've seen unprecedented levels of cinema goers, right? I mean, like going beyond, 7, 8 million, I mean, I think the record before pandemic was 4 million, right? So we're seeing double that. So, the prediction that no one's going to go back to the theater, right? No, I mean, people love going to the movies, right? People love going to the movies. Now, we just need more screens, and when those screens begin to go online, more and more people are going to the movies. So what the hope is, and what we do see, the positive side is that with more investment, with more infrastructure, with more screens, we're going to see this very robust and strong domestic market going to grow. But at the same time, we're going to see this evolvement from just a colloquial market to producers or creators who are going to look at distributing their content beyond shores. And we're going to see a new wave of Indonesian content that's going to go across. And we're already seeing that. We just need more of that, and we're very confident that's going to happen.
Well, thank you very much. I've got flashing red lights here. I've got a sign over there that says, "Time's up." I'm afraid they're going to turn off the lights and shut down the microphones if we don't close and let everybody get on to the next event. But I want to thank you gentlemen very much for being here. And I want to thank the organizers for giving us this opportunity to have this panel. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we'd like to thank our moderator and all of our esteemed speakers today. Thank you very much for the very insightful sessions. You may now return to your seats. And now, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, for our next session, we will now follow another briefer session, as we still have another esteemed speaker who will offer us valuable insight focused on the rise of the experience economy. So with that, please join me in giving a warm applause as he takes the stage, the Managing Director of FGBC Asia Pacific, Mr. Franck Gentil. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I know we're reaching the end of our long sessions over the last few days, and I hope everyone's still having a wonderful time and learning as much as possible. Certainly, I know that I am. So thank you for joining us for this last session. So the experience economy. It's a radical idea of thinking about the experience economy in the reality that with the experience economy, time is the currency of value. And this is quite different. It's more important than volume or range or any metric. The value is the impact. So it means that we get a situation where we want to understand whether we are spending our time well, so time well spent, or we have saved time. And that ends up with emotional reactions in the form of, I'm so happy we did this, or we sure got a lot done. So it's a very different way of actually measuring activity. And where it becomes most powerful, as we will understand in our next speakers, is that when we create a situation of collaborating creativity with technology, we can satisfy both of those needs. And that's a unique situation. So we get an enhancing time and an elevating of time. So deeper interactions as opposed to just normal interactions and smart ways of doing things. And I think about it in terms of really practical things, the fact that we have live streaming. So rather than waiting for something to be finished, we can actually interact from the very beginning. This is a direct correlation of creativity with technology. We have immersive storytelling, where we're actually part of the story. Things which may seem to be relatively fickle, like gamification, in fact, really gives huge entry into things like education and banking. Genuine content personalization, so things which are personal. And we also have probably the most impactful component of the experience economy is monetization. So we're able to, seriously, the creative people and the people in developing both the technology are able to make money out of the exercise, where in fact, previously they've actually been sort of sidelined. So this has impacted all of our sectors, right across from entertainment, finance, healthcare, and hospitality. I'm old enough to understand what it was like to interact with all of these sectors before the experience economy, and it was really difficult. It was difficult going to the doctor. It was difficult making a banking transaction. And now everything is nice and straightforward, and this is a direct correlation of saying that the experience of operating in this economy is more important than the volume and more important than the range. But by far, the biggest, I suppose, result and the biggest component that we get from the experience economy is we're able to move away from the pursuit of perpetual growth, almost at times the pursuit of perpetual growth at any cost. In this situation, we're able to move away from that and start really committing to perpetual improvement. Rather than doing more, we're actually thinking about doing better. And I think this is the huge experience economy gift that's been put upon all our sectors. And if you think about it in terms of a real metric, an old metric that we're used to, the experience economies are currently valued at 1.6, or this is prior COVID, $1.6 trillion. So it's a real exchange in terms of genuine economy. So the creative sector have become agents of solutions. We're genuinely producing things which are solving the issues at hand. So of course, with that situation, is that with greater power comes greater responsibility. And our esteemed speakers that are going to come up stage now are going to talk about how they're committed to the perpetual improvement and advancement, but also how regulation is going to play into their obligations. Thank you very much, and please enjoy the next set of speakers. Thank you.
Thank you very much once again, Mr. Franc-Gentil, for your time and sharing with us today at our event. So, ladies and gentlemen, now we will move on to the last panel discussion of the day. But before we're about to invite our moderator and also our speaker today, once again, I'd like to invite all of you that in the spirit of collaboration, together at the ASEAN Indo-Pacific Forum 2023, we have discussed on 3 major issues today, and now being at the Ballroom 3, speaking more about creative economy. And so with that, ladies and gentlemen, moving on for our next panel discussion of the day, we'd like to invite to come and join us on stage. We will be discussing further about the topic of advancing movie and audiovisual entertainment industry through better regulation. It is a pleasure for me to call upon our moderator, British Council Director, Southeast Asia and Country Director, Indonesia, Mr. Somership. Please do come and join us. And all of our speakers today. Joining us, Mr. Darren Ong, Head of Digital Services and Global Selling, International Public Policy of Amazon, Mr. Danny Wirianto, CBO of GDP Venture, and we're also delighted to have Ms. Amor Maclang, convener of Digital Pilipinas. To our moderator, we give the stage to you.
Okay, I hope you can hear me. Yes, you can. Excellent. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, or selamat sore and selamat datang. Welcome to the ASEAN Indo-Pacific Forum, the Creative Economy sub-theme session. So we have the last session of the day. Let's try to make it the best, shall we? Excellent. Thank you to all of you in the audience for staying with us until the very end. You must be the hardcore practitioners and policymakers in the creative economy, so I'm delighted to see some of you nodding and smiling. My name is Summer Shah. I am the British Council's Director for Southeast Asia and Country Director for Indonesia. I want to start by thanking the Indonesian government, especially Kemlu, for organizing such a stimulating and productive forum, and particularly for inviting me to moderate this session. You may wonder what's the connection between the British Council, my organization, and the creative economy. Well, let me tell you, as the UK's international cultural relations organization, arts and culture has been a key pillar of our work since we opened our first office here in Bandung in 1948. That's right, we're celebrating the British Council's 75th anniversary this year in Indonesia, which also demonstrates our long-term commitment to building long-lasting connections through cultural exchange, which includes the development of creative economy by sharing the UK's experience and expertise and champion the international creative economy. So coming to our topic today, advancing movie, audio, visual entertainment industry and digital product through better regulation. Let me remind you, ladies and gentlemen, that the global movie and entertainment industry was valued at almost $91 billion in 2021 and is expected to expand at a compound annual growth rate of 7.2% from 2022 to 2030. Moreover, the rising popularity of virtual and augmented reality provides audiences with new experiences and new marketing and distribution platforms, such as IPTV, digital newspapers, DTH, and digital cable, as well as online music and movie sales, which are expected to accelerate the industry growth. Major players have adopted strategies like regional expansions and distribution partnerships to venture into untapped markets. A number of these players, including Disney Plus and Amazon, who we have on the panel today, have been focusing on the production of regional content to establish a strong connection with the audience in these markets. While some other countries and regions may face global market stagnation caused by the maturing of major markets like the US and Europe, Southeast Asia region is now considered a potential region for growth, fueled by increased use of digital communication and increased demand for film, music, and digital content. So therefore, it is very fitting for us to have this discussion today to explore the regulatory environment and incentives that are needed and how collaboration between countries in the Indo-Pacific and ASEAN could enhance the production of movie and digital products and services. So joining me on the panel are the distinguished speakers from across ASEAN. To the very far left, we have Amor Maclen, convener of Digital Pilipinas. As a known move maker across ASEAN, Amor has led cross-functional and cross-border collaborations amongst regional and national line agencies, industry leaders, academics, policymakers, and various stakeholders. Specializing in high-impact, high-risk, high-value, and highly regulated industries, Amor is a leading advocate of nascent technology adoption, renewable energy, public health, tourism, urban planning, and financial services. Welcome, Amor.
Thank you.
Thank you. In the middle, we have Danny Ririanto, the Chief Business Development Officer of GDP Venture and a serial entrepreneur and investor focusing in the new economy. He founded several companies such as Semut Api Colony, Meraputi Incorporated, Kecil.com, to name a few. He's an angel investor in Kaskus, Carousel, Tinkerlust, and a board member of 88 Rising and Vintage Electric. Welcome, Danny.
Thank you.
And to my left, we have Darren On, Head of Digital Services and Global Selling, International Public Policy from Amazon. Darren started his career in the government of Singapore, including working at the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Trade and Industry. He then moved into the private sector and worked for two of the world's largest companies in the digital content industry, Netflix and Amazon. Welcome, Darren. So without further ado, I'm going to turn to my panel. I want us to start by examining the landscape across ASEAN, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic, which has reshaped the way we consume content. So my first question is to every panel member. What trends do you anticipate will have a lasting impact on the movie, digital product, audiovisual, and entertainment industry in the Indo-Pacific and ASEAN market? Can I start with you, Amor?
Are you sure? Good evening, everyone. And first and foremost, I'd like to raise the fact that ASEAN truly is the hub for content creation and what I call the GNG, the gigster and the gaming community. Earlier today, together with Papandu, we gave a talk on why does ASEAN matter? And ASEAN matters because 50 million of the documented content creators in the world, yes, there is such a thing, is in ASEAN, all over the world. 2 million of which is in the Philippines. We love our content. No one creates and consumes content, especially content in the metaverse, like Filipinos. That's the first. However, despite their palpable contribution in this new digital economy, the rights of content creators continue to be undermined and unrecognized, especially post-COVID. We've seen instances wherein, despite the fact that they have the earning capacity, they do not have the recognition of the formal banking institutions. They do not have the same rights that regular employees have. They can't have access to loans. And this is something that we are trying to bridge. How do we bridge the hard finance and also the soft creative side? And in Digital Pilipinas, what we're trying to do is actually to ensure that their rights are protected and making sure that they can continue to create. That's one. The second trend that we hope to be able to do is use nascent technologies like blockchain and also smart contracts to promote, protect, and preserve content. I don't know how many Filipinos are here, maybe with the exception perhaps of Enzo, and I take exception to who perhaps is the most digitally active ambassador in ASEAN, Ambassador Joy, who's such a super content creator. In the Philippines, we have a national legacy called Tito Vic and Joey. For 40 years, they have been a national treasure on TV, creating content. And very recently, there has been a national brouhaha that revealed that apparently all of their content is not theirs. So there's this huge legal battle that actually shone the light on the fact that no matter how big you are, your content is not covered. And this is where the son of one of the progenitors of this triumvirate actually took it upon himself to champion the rights of content creators using nascent tech, but more on that later. So those two things, protection of their rights and using frontier tech to protect, preserve, and promote. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amor, for that, well, I guess, healthy challenges you raised, for us to explore more later. Can I come to Danny now? Are there any opportunities you see in addition to the challenges?
Yeah, I think like from point of view of an investor, we see like, I think like the last panelist just mentioned about like the rise of like localized content. I think like local content now has become so resonant and relevant to the market because it's empowering like the local culture and also like empowering like Asian, I mean, like, I think like what we do, like what we did, we invest on like a company called 88 Rising, which is bringing like Asian culture to the world. And what happened is actually like a lot of people are resonant to it. That not including only like the Asian, but it's also like, all other type of people that are like in this planet that are like really into it because they hear something new, they hear something fresh. It's not cookie cutter anymore, and it's something like new. And the way we see it, like, I think in the futures, like more and more, like I hope like more company or more talent like 88 will rise, will appear. And that will create like very good, like, I think like diversity and also like inclusivity in terms of our culture.
Thank you, Danny. I really like the sound of bringing the Asian culture to the rest of the world. Yeah. And I think as, many have mentioned that actually, the center of the world or the focus of the world is moving east and south. So I think, the culture is a good starting point. Without understanding each other's culture, how can we do business together? So I think certainly we want to think more on this topic, how regulations can help with that. So I'll come back to you on that. But Darren, would you like to add to what has already been said?
Sure. Selamat sore. Salam sejahtera, Bapak dan Ibu sekalian. Good afternoon. It's great to be here on this stage, and I want to piggyback on something which Danny had mentioned. So I think if we take a step back, you'd see that there's always been talk about how the world is shrinking. But over the last few years, despite COVID, us being trapped in our homes, I feel that the world has actually shrunk a little bit more in the sense that we are also much more connected to one another digitally. When you think of it in terms of digital entertainment, then you have content that's at your fingertips, and that content comes from all over the world, which is amazing. I think there's a great opportunity then for content creators from around the world to share their content with the world. It's a great opportunity here in ASEAN, and like what Danny mentioned about where new companies could be formed, what the new opportunities are, the amazing society of content creators that we see in Philippines and elsewhere. I think there's just so much more room for you to grow. But at the same time, that also means there's a lot of competition. So I think overall the pie will grow for everyone, but who gets a bigger share, how fast you're growing your share of the pie, And whether we're all taking bites from each other's slice and so on, right? We're all enjoying this and having the growth together, like that's still very much up for debate, for competition. But I still feel it's a very rosy, positive outlook. And once you build that connection, it sticks, and you would thirst for even more of that digital content that is being created everywhere. Yeah.
Thanks very much, Darren. I think I want to ask a follow-up question to the panel. So given the challenges and opportunities you outlined, thinking about our topic today, how do you see the role of regulations in responding to those challenges or capturing those opportunities? Do you think we should tighten the existing regulations or make it more lenient?
Okay, let me start. I think, again, from a point of view investor, we like to be clear and stable, for sure. When we invest on any region, we want to know what kind of regulation, how we can get protected. I think the trouble at this moment in terms of regulation, there's a regulation, but there's no eradication. A big example is a piracy. I mean, it's another challenge itself to eradicate, especially with the internet. I think we can see Amazon show probably in YouTube or in the piracy website, and those kind of things it ruin the creator, ruin the investor, and also it ruined the ecosystem itself. Because no one win except the pirate. And I think that's need to be taken care of it. And in terms of also regulation, I mean we want to be fair. I mean I love Netflix, I love Amazon, I love Disney Plus, don't put me wrong. But how company View or Mola can compete with this big giant company if there's no fair regulation? It's very hard for a small company from the region to grow if there's no regulation whatsoever. I mean, we talk about compare amateur again, EPL. It's a big different game, different skill. So I think that they have a need a clear regulation. Therefore, the investor will invest. I mean, no doubt on that. Because we see Southeast Asia is growing, but we invest a lot in the US, we invest a lot in Europe, we invest a lot in the region that the regulation is very clear. But they targeted the market where the opportunity are. We invest in 88 in LA, but the market is Asian. Why we want Asian? Look at the population in the world is 2/3 is Asian. Nobody focus on it. And there you go. We just invest on it, and it proven work. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's in terms of regulation, we want something that more stable and more clear and fair, and also eradicate.
So stability, fairness, clarity.
Yeah.
So yes, Samuel, go ahead. Do you want to add to that?
Absolutely. Because I look at content like assets, right? Just like money, whether fiat or digital, content is an asset. My approach to anything of value, the future is decentralized. Content is decentralizing. Content creation lies in the hands not of a central body that will control it, but rather in the hands of a content creator. What we need to be able to do is enable a content creator and provide them with the requisite tools and technologies that will allow them to promote themselves, that will protect themselves, that will allow them to monetize themselves and do the exchange themselves peer to peer, okay? That is where the future ought to be. the best way to regulate is to regulate peer-to-peer. Now, where does that sound? It sounds like a decentralized exchange, right? In the same manner, where you need to look at the parallelism is in the central banking. Where is the movement of central banks? It's in the decentralization of assets, whether it's fiat or digital assets, right? So I feel like the question, when you asked us earlier, what is the role of regulation? Which part do you want to regulate? Is it content creation? Content creation, I assure you, I bet you my bottom rupiah or pesos, it's going to be decentralized. Now, what other aspect would it be in the area of investing in digital assets, for example, the rights of, how do we protect them? So there's an entire value chain in content creation. The question is which aspect. But I think the primordial thing we have to talk about is ownership, right? Ownership, which equates to monetization, and I think the future, just like with anything of value, should be decentralized.
So decentralized peer-to-peer regulation, stability.
That's kind of like an oxymoron, right? But I think it's going to be peer-to-peer, right? Much like BitTorrent. But then that's for another conference altogether.
So, Darren, working for a giant player in the
Centralized.
industry. So how would you welcome those changes proposed by the other two panelists?
And also, to add to your original question, whether
I didn't propose it. It's the trend. That's where it's going.
whether it's better to have more or less regulations and so on, I don't really think about it in that way, but I think I'll consider whether they are good, effective, impactful regulations versus the bad ones with all the undesirable consequences. Because if there is a policy issue, there is a policy objective, you have an effective policy, then it's great. You can have 10 of those to address 10 problems, and it'll be good for everyone. It could give you the clarity, the stability that the investors want. It could give you the protections, the opportunities that the creators want. So I think there is one fantastic example already in ASEAN, in Indonesia. Tax is often an issue which is in headlines, and big companies naturally often then get attached to those headlines too. But if you see the experience of Southeast Asia in introducing a tax on digital services, the rollout has been smooth, it has been progressive, and it has already been done in most Southeast Asian countries. Several years now, in fact, for some of our countries. I think that has given clarity to the companies. It's given the governments an answer to the question, how do I properly, accurately, and pragmatically tax companies? So I think there is a way forward for us to find more good regulations. And if we can find them, fantastic. If there are proposals for bad, if there are proposals for regulations that are starting to look bad, then I hope we can correct course and look for better examples elsewhere. Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. So, I mean, certainly representing the UK organization and the UK, we do feel that the introduction of tax reliefs and offering talents the opportunity to thrive in the UK has certainly helped us to grow the industry. So there's a lot of experience we can share. I want to move us on to talk about diversity and inclusion in this part of the world. And I think some of you already alluded to that. There's so much nuances, and then this region is known for its diversity in terms of culture, ethnicity, history, religion, and etc. Maybe I'll start with you, Darren. Living in a multicultural environment like Singapore, considering the diverse socio-cultural backgrounds and regulatory landscape of countries across the region, what is your strategy in shaping a curated content that's suitable for each consumer?
Right. And I also recall that earlier this afternoon, Her Excellency from Cambodia talked about cultural assets being one of the three main assets that they have. I think we totally agree. There's fantastic, rich, really exciting culture, history in the region. That was one of the reasons why Amazon decided to launch our Prime Video service in a number of Southeast Asian countries over the last year. So now, if Indonesia, Philippines, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, they have a localized Prime Video service for them. And for each country, local content remains a key pillar. So my colleague Chaitanya was sharing about some examples earlier. I think even for Indonesia, there have been some fantastic local content on our service. Induk Gajah, A+, Sabtu Bersama Bapak, and many more to come. Chaitanya's team is super busy closing deals. So I find that when you have local content that speaks to local customers, it can not only help to grow that content, but also with a global service like ours and many other esteemed companies here, there's the opportunity for content to start to be shown, be loved by audiences elsewhere. So a customer in Brazil may actually have the same taste profile as I do. There could well be this person in Brazil or in many other places that also likes like the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, that is too scared to watch the really scary Indonesian horror movies, of which there are many fantastic ones, because we're not so different in terms of our taste profiles around the world. So when you have, fortunately, scale, that means you also have the opportunity for penetration, and you pass it on to the creators.
Thank you, Darren. Danny, I want to come to you on this as well, because your company, GTP Venture, is renowned for fostering innovation and growth within the industry. So how can companies like yours have a strategy to enable the content producers to come up with content that has global resonance while preserving the diverse cultural identities within the region?
Well, to be honest with you, we're not the expert on the entertainment. We just can read, we just read the pattern, what's gonna happen next. And so what happened is like we basically invest in the founder that has a vision that like focus on the global reach from Asian country or Asian founders that like want to show the world that like their talents. And I think we also like the idea about like a cross-border production in the sense of it. So they don't see a limit because it is global, right? And when we talk about global, we can like doing the production in London or like in Stockholm and by the singer of like Indonesian, but also like the writer from other country, you know. And those cross-border production or creation that like actually help to introduce the culture, to help to introduce the different tastes of like part of the region. I mean, I think like it's happened also like in TV commercial, for example. A lot Indonesian, like they fly to Thailand, to Bangkok, to doing the like post-production because they got the best one. I mean, I think like Amor talk about digital creator. The one thing that we noticed that like there's a lot of talent gap here in Asia. There's one country really good at post-production, one country really good at like, you know, creating, like movie directing or like music, you know, singer, but like the other country really good at, you know, scripting. I mean, like there's not, I don't think it's like in Asian, there's like a country that like have a fully like the whole ecosystem like United States. You know, it takes time. I think like back to regulation, I think I want to add it, I think the government need to like focus on the talent, like, you know, invest on the talent. I think the work within like the government, the business, the academy, the community, and also like the creator is like need to be synergy. Because if not, it will not happening.
I absolutely agree with that, and I think that's a running theme across this whole forum about that regional and global cooperation and collaboration, that will enable and empower the talents that we have across the different countries in this part of the world. So Amor, maybe I can ask you to add to that. What kind of initiatives and ideas you would propose to enhance that connectivity and collaboration, both regionally and globally?
So, for one thing, we look at technology. So my slip is showing. My slip is primarily in fintech. And we look at fintech as a horizontal and not as a vertical. Our main objective is to embed it across various industries. That is our hope for culture. And the one industry that we hope to actually give life to using fintech is culture. And in the Philippines, we are going to be launching it during the Philippine FinTech Festival with a focus on ASEAN, and we call it Culture Tech. Because we are done with being the biggest market, one of the biggest markets after Indonesia, of Korean content. We love Korea, don't get me wrong, I love Korea. As a matter of fact, I said this when I did one of the keynotes in the Korean FinTech Week a few days back. I just came from Seoul. I love them to pieces. Indonesia and the Philippines are two of the biggest consumers of Korean content, Indonesia being number one. Number two, I think, is Japan. Third is the Philippines, and fourth is South Korea. And there is something that we need to take from there. Because by energizing culture, applying technology, and monetizing it, as this fine young gentleman said earlier, we are able to create a ripple effect in the economy that will cascade to tourism, cascade to food, cascade to manufacturing and everything else, right? So I think what we all want to call on everyone, starting with this fine gentleman investor and even from this centralized platform over here, is please energize culture. I'll start with my industry, which is fintech. And what we will do is we will energize the culture pillar in ASEAN by embedding services, embedding loans, embedding insurance and healthcare to the content creators. We will stop making them anonymous in the financial services sector. That's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to recognize them formally, even if what they have as their asset is digital assets. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to recognize them as a genuine industry, meaning we're going to work more closely with them in helping them create more revenue models by embedding them in e-commerce and other hard industries. So that's what we'll do, and we hope to see all of you when we celebrate everything ASEAN during the Digital Pilipinas Festival in November. Thank you.
Thanks, Amor. So, gentlemen, I think you have your homework set out for you. But Amor did also mention about technology, which is, again, another hot topic, AI, ChatGPT, you name it. So I wonder, gentlemen, if we talk about technology, how do you see technology has or will reshape the creation, distribution, and consumption of content? And how do you think we can leverage technology to harness these opportunities?
Decentralized.
Decentralized. And what else? Danny?
Well, I think technology is keep growing and keep evolving, and I've been investing in technology. But one thing the technology can be double-edged sword. I think AI, we need to rethink about the AI in terms of creative. It will kill a lot of content creators so quick. Yeah. So if the regulation is not in place, the 2 million people, it will be literally nothing. I think the hardest part, we love AI, we love the new technology, but we also scared on like what it will cost in terms of the ecosystem in Indonesia or like in ASEAN, because we're not there yet. We're not like United States, we're not like Japan, we're not like Korea, we're like way, way behind. So we need to leap. So I think like, I mean, I'm thankful like with all these big players like, you know, coming to the region. I will hope that like they will invest on local content. I will hope they will invest on like talent academy. If you guys like from London, if you guys from like anywhere in the world, open academy here, train people, teach people. I mean, that's the only thing that we can catching up. If not, we just gonna be the biggest market in the world.
Well, yeah, Darren.
I think you have the huge leaps in technology. There are also all the small incremental steps that you take. Like, I think Amazon was one of the pioneers for e-commerce, but one of the lesson known but very frequently experienced minor step forward in technological innovation, if you will, is just having customer reviews on the website. It wasn't there before. You have the reviews now. Now you see it on every e-commerce system. When it comes to online entertainment, Netflix paved the way with online streaming. And I think all the players are also trying their best to make improvements so that it's just a much more seamless experience for the customer. On Prime Video, we have this X-ray feature. So when you pause something, there's an overlay. You see the names of all the actors. Sometimes you have trivia as well. And if you click through, you go to IMDb, and you may end up going down the IMDb hole instead. So when we launched some of our original shows from Southeast Asia, like last week we launched Comedy Island Thailand and Comedy Island Indonesia, Comedy Island Philippines. The details of all the local cast, the directors, producers, and so on is available on X-Ray. I think these are tiny technological innovations that just help discoverability of foreign content. And when you think of all the different technologies that are constantly improving, I think there's also a lot of room for a content creator or an IP owner to monetize their content in multiple channels. You have animation from Singapore called Oddbots. It's available on YouTube, on Prime Video, on Netflix in different regions. And now on the e-commerce side, Amazon is supporting Oddbots in selling their merchandise around the world. So you have Oddbots, figurines, soft toys, pencils, and so on. I know because my kids keep asking me for them. And they're being enjoyed by customers from Mexico to the UK. So I think just from the very basic fact of access, on ease of putting up your items for sale or putting up your show for viewing, like these basics make a huge difference to the aspiring entrepreneurs or creators here. And along the way, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more improvements, including on more disruptive kind of technologies that eventually could lead to further improvements to very basic systems. Yeah.
Excellent. So I think we can be confident that used well, technology can assist us with the growth of the industry. On that note, I know we're already running out of time. I do want to ask for a final word from our panel about the future. One thing you think would contribute to the ideal future of the regulatory measures that will support an inclusive growth in this industry, in this region? Who'd like to go first? Danny.
I like to wish that like tax rebate, tax incentive that will happening in the region. Because right now is the only country that's doing it. I think like either Thailand and also Malaysia and Singapore like they provide like $4,000 or something, or like it's not even funny. Like, but it's too small. But like I think like with tax rebate, tax incentive will help to promote like tourism. I mean, who doesn't watch Eat, Pray, and Love and like doesn't go to Bali? That's the big example of it. I mean, right now, Indonesia, I hate to say this, but most film from Hollywood portraying Indonesia as a terrorist or an escape country of a bad guy, which is sad. I think like with tax incentive, it will change that. Probably this Hollywood people doesn't know Indonesia, so that's why they they just assume making things up on that one. So I think that's will help.
Tax incentive from Danny Amor.
Promote, protect, and preserve culture using technology.
Technology. Darren.
I'll follow on the P theme, protect, promote, and preserve. I'll just throw in pragmatism. So I think if you take a step back, we're actually still a super young industry that is constantly changing. It's so dynamic. It's so hard to think of the right policy right now. And I don't feel there needs to be a rush to regulate, especially when you don't see a policy issue or challenge or something that's even close to breaking point. And I think pragmatism in timing is important. Pragmatism in the design of the policy is also important, because you don't want something that will not get you to your objective and in fact causes more harm. But it's such a tricky space, and I don't think anyone has the right answer. So pragmatism, I think with humility as well, that no one has the monopoly on answers. Let's all figure this out together. Yeah.
On that note, I'm afraid that's the end of the session. So I don't know about you in the audience, but I'm going away feeling stimulated, energized, and positive about the future. I will certainly take some of these ideas into my conversation with my colleagues, including with ASEAN, together with my colleagues from the UK mission to ASEAN, to see what we can do in our power to support the inclusive growth. So thank you to the organizers for allowing us with this session, and a round of applause to our esteemed panelists, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you for staying with us. That's a wrap.
Let's have a photo together. You guys, come.
And sure, so ladies and gentlemen, let's give another big round of applause to our moderator and our esteemed speakers for our last panel today. Thank you so much for your energy and all your insights on the stage today. And with that, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we draw the curtains on this enlightening and also impactful event, we find ourselves at a moment of reflection and also inspiration. We have followed discussions, dialogues, and special addresses we've witnessed, and has deepened our understanding of the themes that shape ASEAN's journey toward unity, progress, and prosperity. And in the spirit of collaboration, ladies and gentlemen, that defines ASEAN, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to all of our speakers, our panelists, and moderators who have shared their expertise and perspectives with us, and to everyone, to each and every one of you who has been part of this event. Thank you once again for your presence. And before officially closing today's agenda, I would like to quickly share some information. Happening right now, we'd like to invite all of you to come join us at the ballroom at the side, Ballroom 2. We will have the ASEAN Indo-Pacific Forum 2023 closing ceremony by the Coordinating Minister for Maritime and Investment Affairs of the Republic of Indonesia, His Excellency Mr. Luhut Binsar Panjaitan. We welcome you to join us at Ballroom 2 to listen to his closing remarks. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, excellencies, I'm Sasha Loda. It is such a pleasure for me to guide you and to be here with you throughout today. Thank you once again for attending the ASEAN Indo-Pacific Forum 2023, implementation of ASEAN Outlook on Indo-Pacific. Thank you, and we wish you a wonderful afternoon. See you again.
BRI is a large state-owned enterprise that focuses on the MSME segment. BRI Digital Innovation continues to be carried out to facilitate customers in providing services to continue to give value to Indonesia.
BNI harus semakin proaktif dan responsif.
BNI terus konsisten untuk mendorong UMKM kita naik kelas.
BNI berkomitmen dalam program-program pemberdayaan UMKM untuk go global.
In Bank Mandiri, we are already one step forward, pioneering Indonesia's transition to low-carbon economy by pursuing net zero emissions on operational by 2030. Let's put our hands together to create a brighter future.
Mining Industry Indonesia, Mind ID, we explore natural resources for civilization, prosperity, and a brighter future.